Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Andrew Reiner.
What's up?
Kimberly Wallace, champion returns, and Joe Juba.
Yeah, that's me.
I really like we almost had a full chorus going on
That's
there.
what I was going for.
Let's try this again, then harmonize. Andrew Reiner.
What's up?
Kim Wallace. Hey. Joe Juba.
Hi.
Well, now that we lost all listeners, let's talk about what a hell of a show we got here. We got Super Nintendo Classic. That thing's out.
Woo!
We're going to talk all about it. Reiner.
It's not yet.
Well, on Friday, if you're listening to this Friday, which I think a lot of people are. Star Fox 2. What an exciting time. In the year 2017, we can dive into Star Fox 2. Kim, you've been in Japan for 14 years. We're going to talk all about your adventure. If you're not watching the video version, she's shaved her head. She just has a little bun on top now.
No, the jet lag is kicking in right now, so it's going to be a great podcast.
I love it. Then we're talking about FIFA, Project Cars 2. Miller talks all about DropMix, Harmonix's, I think, genuinely fascinating new project. After that, we're going to have a fun email segment, maybe talk about the heat signature, SteamWorld Dig 2 a little bit here and there. And then back half of the show, we have an interview with Marija Moldenhauer, who's the producer and artist on Cuphead, which is also out Friday.
Very cool.
So it's a fun chat just about the evolution of that game in development, how insanely labor-intensive that art choice that they went with ended up being. And it turns out...
It's not just a filter you turn on Photoshop or something?
No, not at all. And so, yeah, it's a good indicator of just how passionate that team is, talking about how long and hard they've been working on that. She uses the phrase no regrets a lot, including when it comes to all of them mortgaging their houses to pay for Cuphead. So it goes places. So stay tuned for that. Fun chat. But for now, Super Nintendo Classic.
Yeah.
Let's finally dive into these Super Nintendo games. Joe, you've been dinking around with the hardware a fair amount. And Reiner, you've been mainly focusing on Star Fox 2.
That's the only game I played.
All right. And Kim, you're a Super Nintendo expert. So that's why I assembled this dream team here.
Well, it's great. I mean, I have mine pre-ordered. I keep waiting for Best Buy to cancel on me. So far has not happened.
I think you might be safe.
I'm hoping. They said they were preparing the shipment yesterday, so I was like getting excited.
Is she going to be excited when she finally receives it, Joe?
Well, yeah. I mean, ultimately, yes. In the same way that, like, people were excited when they got their NES Classic, right?
Okay.
I mean, like, you cannot argue the Super Nintendo Classic is like it. You cannot argue with the library of games that is included on that thing.
I mean, remind people. We talked about this before in the podcast. Give me like the greatest hits. What were you most excited to see when you're going through that library?
Man, okay. So for me, it's going to change from person to person, right? Because they just have 21 fantastic games on there.
Reiner might argue 20 in a bit here.
Well, it has 21 games on it. And one of the things I thought was funny is like I was going to make a list in the, like review I wrote up of like, oh, here are the must play games. And I came up with like, I scrapped the idea because it's like, it's most of them. It's like 15 of them more or less are things that I would say that are just like A or A minus tier Super Nintendo.
Okay, well, let's go the other route. What's at the bottom of the stack that you wouldn't include in that?
Yes, Reiner, what would you like to put on there?
Star Fox 2.
All right. And what else is down there?
So for me personally, and again, it's going to change from person to person, but like Super Castlevania is on there. Which is
you put that bottom of the stack?
For me,
you see that whip?
I'm not saying it's a bad game either. For me, I never really connected with that one. Same with the Super Ghouls and Ghosts, I think is for me not a great series. There's the two Kirby games, the golf one.
Kim's mouth hit the table.
And so the golf one and the weird mini game collection one.
Okay.
Fine.
But still, none of
Final
those are
Fantasy 3.
But those aren't bad games.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to like the better side of it, I mean, you've got Mega Man X, you have Final Fantasy 3, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, like
Link to the Past.
Absolutely. Like just great.
Yoshi's Island.
Secret of Mana, Earthbound.
Chrono Trigger.
Super Mario RPG.
Not Chrono Trigger.
Where the hell is it?
Yeah, people are upset about that.
If I had to pick one game that it's like, wow, it's really an oversight that that's not on there, I think it's probably Chrono Trigger. But at the same time, I mean, like, it's also hard to argue with the RPGs that are on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
great choices.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall hardware is basically the same as NES. So that your conclusion after around with it for a while?
Yeah, and that's actually what's disappointing about it. And it's hard for me to like. One of the things I say in my review is like criticizing this thing feels like you're standing in front of a speeding train and like waving your arms, asking it to stop. Like the success of this system just seems inevitable, right? I mean, like people are just they want it, they are doing everything they can to get it. but it's not perfect. And the issue with that, I think, is that it has the same sort of practical problems that the NES Classic had for me. They really did not do much to fix the fact that, like, in order to really take advantage of the sort of extra features that it offers, like being able to use save states, or there's a new rewind feature.
Yeah.
That you can like hop into a save state and like rewind and try, like, let's say you're trying to beat like a hard boss or do a hard jump.
Only on loading.
Yeah. So you have to return to the menu screen and then access your save state, rewind, and then load that up again. Okay. So all that's to say, those are great features, but you need to be close to the reset button to do that.
Because flipping the reset button up is what takes you to the main menu. You cannot do it from the controller.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And the Nintendo, the NES Classic had that problem, and it was just baffling. And like, I know that there are people out there who like came up with little sort of like fixes for the software that you could install.
Oh,
fixes. No. Things like, hey, if you hold down and select, you can basically like install something on there. It's like, hey, if you hold down and select, it'll take you to the screen. Or there are workarounds too. Like, hey, if you have the like Wii Classic controller, that has a home button. So if you have like a Nintendo, a controller with that like Nintendo plug, you can put it in the Super Nintendo and the home button will take you to the home screen.
All right, that's not too bad.
The controllers that it comes with do not have that.
Gotcha.
And similarly, like you're also, because the controller is like, the cord is longer than the NES Classic was, which was a big complaint, but it's still too short. It still keeps you too closely tethered to the system.
Key question though, shorter than the original Super Nintendo cord?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
By a couple feet?
I mean, I don't remember the exact measurements off the top of my head. I think it's maybe 1.5 feet.
Okay.
Or so shorter still. Yeah.
Okay. So same complaints, but that library you just can't argue with.
Yeah, and it makes it sound like I'm really down on it. And like I do think that the fact that all of these things were problems last year, and the fact that they are still problems, is super disappointing and confusing to me.
Yeah.
But under a lot of circumstances, they don't matter. I mean, like, let's say that your gaming setup is just like at your computer desk or something. Like, hey, if everything's close by, if you don't mind things being within arm's reach, that's great.
Yeah.
I have a living room with like my TV in front of it, and sitting 4 feet in front of it and sort of looking up was not convenient or comfortable for me.
You felt like a wonderful child.
You know? So, you know, like there's a sort of like there are elements of it that are frustrating, especially given that Nintendo knew about the problems and didn't fix them.
Yeah.
One problem they did fix.
Yes.
Real quick.
Please.
They included a second controller.
That's really cool.
They didn't do last year.
Yeah.
So now for games like Super Mario Kart, you just out of the box, you have 2 controllers, you can sit and play, and that's a good thing.
That's awesome. And it seems like, I mean, who knows? If you're listening to this on Friday, you maybe already know if there were riots in the streets of people trying to pick these up. But it seems like as we're getting closer to launch, the buzz is like, oh, maybe there's a few more than people would expect.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm hearing a lot more.
Yeah.
Certain places.
You check like Target allocations and stuff like that sometimes, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about this one. It's me just going in there to get a coffee and being like, oh, yeah, they got Switch.
Yeah. Okay. But maybe you could actually get your hands on one. It seems like overall you'd still recommend it just because of that crazy arsenal. And it's what, $80?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's $80. Those games are fantastic. And even though, I mean, like, so this is maybe a dumb analogy, but like let's say that there's some like James Beard award-winning chef who wants to serve you a meal, right?
James Beard?
It's
a pirate?
It's a cooking thing.
Okay.
So let's say that someone wants to serve you an exquisite meal. But you said they say you have to sit and eat it in like a dark alley or something.
What is with you? Like, and you had the weird stuff in the soup.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
super replay. Everything's a food analogy.
It's weird food analogies. all I'm saying is that like the meal itself is still fantastic, even though if some of the elements surrounding you are not.
It's a TV dinner because you have to eat it close to the TV.
Maybe that also works.
So the most exciting thing, maybe in this whole package, outside of just playing some of the best games ever made again, Star Fox 2.
Yeah.
Finally seeing the light of day. You have to, play the first level of Star Fox 1 to unlock it? Is
Correct.
That right?
Yep.
That's interesting. And then you unlock it, and Rainer, you've been playing it, and?
Yeah, so the game was slated to come out on Super Nintendo in 1995. Nintendo decided to cancel it. Reasons that were kind of listed back in the day were it's on the heels of the release of the Nintendo 64. So they didn't want to confuse the market with too much 3D, as Star Fox is using a new FX chip, like FX chip 2 or whatever, right?
And compared to the
GP2.
PlayStation 1, which was out, it just kind of looked antiquated and dopey.
So they're like, let's not do that. The real reason I have found
Here we go.
is Star Fox 2 is not a good game. And is not... Calling it a sequel, I don't even know if you would want to put a 2 on that box. It's so different.
Well, that's a good thing, right?
There are not levels.
Explain.
In the traditional sense. Star Fox 1, you're on a rail going across a planet or through space.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Point A to point B.
Yeah, you've got like 5 minutes of like, hey, I'm shooting stuff. There's a boss, whatever. Okay.
Star Fox 2 is built on the idea of the map screen being kind of a living thing where when you start moving on it, the enemy is moving as well. So they're repositioning their starships. They're firing rockets toward your planet.
Okay.
And you have to intercept these things. They'll send out fighters. You'll have to go intercept them. When you intercept them, you'll go to a 3D. It's in first person, like Star Fox Zero. And it'll be you taking down the rocket. You can do that in like 5 seconds.
And then you're back to the map.
So it's like these little instances. Fighters. You take down 3 fighters. You do that in like 15 seconds.
It's like Star Fox
You're back on the map.
WarioWare.
You eventually go to planets. And these planets, you're like, okay, this is where the real levels are going to be, right? There's war on it. You go down there and you take out a giant battery or some big electrical thing and you're done. You do that in about a minute. So it doesn't feel like Star Fox in any capacity outside of it looks like it, right? Like it's the FX chip, but they're doing so many different things in like how you interact with it. Not only do you not see the R-Wing that much, like you fly every once in a while through like kind of the Death Star trench. They have a couple sequences like that when you go into a base. You get to see the backside of your ship. But then you transform into the mech, which they brought into Zero as well.
Yeah.
You do that more than you use the R-Wing. And then when you're in space, you're always in first person and you can't switch that. So it feels like a very different game. I ended up beating it. Our video's on the site and YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Leo's not here. 35 minutes, something like that.
Whoa.
Okay.
Wow.
There's trial and error figuring out like how to intercept so you're not blowing stuff up. And there's a pesky space dragon that you have to take on that was giving me fits early on, but then I learned to use special items and stuff like that to take them down. But it is a huge disappointment and a gargantuan departure from the original game. Cool things that came from this, though, after they canceled it, kind of their 3D camera work in this, they adopted into Mario 64. And then some of the other ideas went into the future Star Fox games that came out.
It's not even like or even Command, like the DS one with like the overhead strategy.
Yeah,
map.
the map and all that. Yeah, so they pulled some stuff from this, so it wasn't a complete disaster, but they rightfully canceled it. And Miyamoto was the producer on it. You had Dylan Cuthbert. Was a programmer, designer. So there was some serious development chops on there, but as a sequel, if that would have came out back in the day, I think it would have been like a 5 or 6.
I would put money on if it came out back in the day being like a effing 9.
No way.
I think this is
people
what
are reviewing it now. Like reviews for this game are like out on the internet now.
Yeah,
and like people are giving it like there are some 9s out there for it.
What?
Yep.
Reiner, I really think what you experienced this week playing Star Fox 2, that's what's like for people like myself or Leo, right, that never really played a lot of NES and Super Nintendo games, going back to these beloved games and just being like, this effing sucks. You got to experience what the younger generation experienced, is my point. And it turns out all old games are garbage. Not Super Nintendo. NES specifically.
Super Metroid,
but even with some Super Nintendo stuff.
So I do want to address that point. That's one of the things that makes the SNES Classic really great, I think, though, is that like beyond the nostalgia factor, like if you look at the NES Classic, a lot of those games, like they're important games and they're good games, but I don't know that they hold up as well as some of these like 16-bit games do.
Yeah, for sure.
And granted, I mean, Star Fox is 3D, which ends up being a little like sometimes those don't hold up as well either. But like, it feels like just game development, like gaming as an industry, was really sort of like figuring itself out in this era, and a lot of the just like the enduring quality of some of these games, how they are still fun today, and they are like still. Like even divorced from the fact that like, oh, I really liked this when I was 13 or whatever.
I'll say this much.
I think they really hold up.
Yeah, for sure.
Controlling the R-Wing with the D-pad and just 2 shoulder buttons works better than Zero.
Okay, all right. Look at that.
Better than doing this crap,
That's really
moving
good.
around.
Yeah, Joe, I'm with you. It's fascinating to think about, though. Like,
Yeah.
it's what, 5-6 years later, and just think about the gulf between some of those NES releases and Super Nintendo releases, even in the same series. Whereas if you go back to, say, 2010 or 2011 here, like, games haven't changed that much. But in that era, things were just moving so fast, and the quality
Yeah.
was
Oh,
just
yeah.
on some crazy curve.
Like, I think about the fact back in when, for Game Informer's 200th issue, we sort of ranked the top 200 games of all time, and the original Legend of Zelda on NES got like the #1 slot.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think if you're talking about influence and importance and all of that stuff, like, yep, that's deserved. But like, would I rather sit down and play the Legend of Zelda on NES or Link to the Past on Super Nintendo? It's like, I'll take Link to the Past every
Yeah.
time.
Or
So-
just Tetris, the correct choice of what you want to play on the NES.
No, that's Game Boy, man.
I think
Oh, I
I think there's some games like on NES, like Mario, that still withstand the test of time. Mario 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Whereas Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior, like
Yeah,
some of those games
yeah.
that kind of paved the path for those Super Nintendo ones don't hold up as well.
Yeah. Like,
But Super Nintendo, those games, like a lot of those games you go back to, it's like Final Fantasy 3 is like, holy crap, this writing is great.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you play through a lot of these games? Were there any that gave you pause going back to some?
Boy, let me think about it. Super Punch-Out was maybe not as awesome now as I thought it was back in the day. I think the original Punch-Out probably holds up better in that case.
That's an interesting case. The art's so good in Super Punch-Out.
Yeah, it is. But just, I mean, the mechanics of playing it, and you've got that weird, like, transparent boxer. It's a little more like the arcade version of the game.
Yeah, with the weird polygonal guy.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, for the most part, man.
Mario Kart is a little rough.
See, I
the
actually...
mode 7 on that is in the flat lands.
That was one, though. Actually, I did not play a lot of Mario Kart like on Super Nintendo when it came out. So like this was really the most time I've ever spent playing Mario Kart was like me.
You got to fix that, dude.
No. But like me and my wife sitting in front of the TV because she'd actually played more Mario Kart than I did when as a kid, and like I was having a great time with this.
Still
old
controls.
16-bit
It
Mario
controls
Kart.
well. It just
It's fun.
looking at it is like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a unique look.
Wow.
Everything's flattened down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Kim, let's go to the homeland of many of these great games we're talking about. You went to Japan for TGS. You did your usual social media blast of, I'm at home. I'm the happiest I've ever been. This is the place of my dreams. Every piece of ramen is a manna from heaven.
Yes.
Okay, so what was like the highlight of your trip?
Highlight of trip or highlight of the show?
Let's go show specifically.
Show specifically. I actually really loved Monster Hunter World.
Oh, really?
And I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the past, I've tried all the games here and there, and I haven't really fallen in love the way Dan Tack has fallen in love with the series
Very
per se,
tough.
or Lele, who's in production, who just loves the series. But actually trying it this time, I think too, having it back on a big screen again and not on a little handheld.
Yeah.
And being able to co-op with your friends, but it's just. I thought the controls were smoother. Also, just the creative ways that you can kill enemies. Like now they have this whole ecosystem going on with the monsters where they'll battle for dominance in areas. So if you lure them over there, you can actually get them to fight each other to take them down, which is fun.
Sounds kind of cool. I feel like plenty of games have had
I know,
an
but they haven't
ecosystem
had
before.
that before.
True,
but,
for Monster Hunter.
But too, if you lure them into say a rock, you can have a monster hit his head on there, and that'll stun him. And it's just thinking of using the environment for your kills.
Yeah.
And making stuff that just seems fun to do with a group of people. You
Yeah.
know? I'm excited to get a group of friends together and play it. It
For
was
600 hours.
And you will never stop. So you feel more confident that this is the one that's going to, even though it's a popular series, this is going to be one that breaks through to a new audience?
I
You
think
it has
too,
that potential?
because this is the first time too. It's not, it's been on Nintendo systems for a while, and now it's expanding out to PS4, Xbox,
Yeah.
PC.
And PC,
yeah.
it's gonna be a
So
weird
it
thing.
will definitely get more people to play it. Whether or not it resonates with everyone, still to,
Yeah.
jury's still out. But I was more confident with it after playing it than I've ever been.
Just to zoom out a bit, how is TGS overall? Was there a
I-
general trend or vibe in the air this year compared to
I
other years?
Feel like a broken record every time I talk about this show. Every year it gets a little sadder there.
Oh, no.
And I think this year too, it didn't have the Final Fantasy 15 or the biggest games there, okay? Like the second biggest game I played was Metal Gear Survive. And then The Evil Within 2 was super popular, so popular that I couldn't even get in to play it.
Really?
Using my press badge. Okay, they wanted press to wait in line. They asked me to wait in line for 2 hours. I'm like,
You're trying to use it like a sheriff badge?
I was just like, well, you know, because I wanted to see it really bad. And like, it was a longer demo, but people were lining up for that like crazy.
It's called Psycho Break, right?
Yeah, Psycho Break 2.
That's such a good name.
Yeah, so, you know, I feel like this year there's not a lot coming out from Japan. Like, I feel like stuff is in development and there wasn't much present at the show. I was surprised by Metal Gear Survive.
I heard it was the same demo technically as like the E3
They had
build,
a harder mission that I
Okay.
played, but it was very similar. But just to say, like, everybody's curious how that's shaping up. And I think if you go into it, it's not going to be the series changer. It's not going to, you know... It's just silly and fun, and I just had fun playing it.
Gotta watch out, Kim.
Kim, you don't know it. You say, you know, people are curious about it. YouTube isn't curious. YouTube made up its mind a long time ago that this is the game that digs up Kojima's grave and sodomizes him.
And I understand those feelings. Like, it's hard to not feel that way. And, you know, after everything that happened and played out, and I think, too, it's like it's a departure from obviously what Kojima would have done.
Yeah.
So you're tripping, you're going on that. So I mean, it's honestly up to, like I said, I think their biggest problem will probably be finding a player base for that. And you know,
yeah, when's it coming out? Next year?
Yeah, they just put 2018 on it, so they haven't. But
generic
like I said,
2018.
it's not like it's going to be earth shattering and change the world. That is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it was not horrible.
You're
And
good.
I
You're
was
safe. You're safe. Don't worry. Don't be
I was
scared. Don't be
expecting-
So you're
scared.
just saying Game of the Year 2018.
I was expecting. No, I was just saying I was expecting to dislike it, maybe even hate it.
Right.
And I even went in with those feelings of like, you know, feeling kind of what fans did too with it, because I saw that we all saw that play out. So I mean, I walked away being like, this is. It's not horrible.
Better than 3. I
But-
can't believe you said it, Kim. My
I mean,
God.
Kojima and his team paved a pretty nice roadmap for them to use, right?
yeah,
Like, and
exactly.
if
It's
they're using
their
the same gameplay,
Yeah. They're using the controls.
That's a big
the
win
great
right there for it,
controls,
right?
Yeah, everything. So, I mean, and just face it, playing like games where you just have to survive and outlast zombies. I mean, we see it all the time, but it's still fun. You know?
Why the
in
hell
some
not?
way. But no, to go back on that. So another Bandai Namco actually had a big presence at the show.
Okay.
They have that Code Vein game that's coming up. That's kind of their new Dark Souls.
Is it sci-fi? What's the theme here?
It's vampires.
Vampires, open world Dark Souls. That's the pitch here?
Yeah, you get
Okay.
to.
I'm on board.
It played fine from what I saw. I mean, I only got to play about like 10 minutes of it. It feels a lot like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And, you know, has kind of the fun. Oh, it has like an AI system where you always have someone with you. And they they can distract the enemy. And also like they'll give you tips on what to do if you take too long to figure something out, which is some people like it, some people don't. That's we'll see. That's their big. We asked that. The question was asked, "What's your big difference from Dark Souls?" Because everybody's comparing it, and that's what they brought up was the.
Sure.
I don't know.
Something.
all you have to do is just, what's the difference? Look at my game.
Right,
It's
right.
completely different.
I mean, and of course, actually, really surprised by the improvements to combat in Ni no Kuni 2.
It's Pikmin, right?
Well, a little bit.
That sounds cool.
But it's more than that. It's like the action battle system is really fun. You know, they switched from that turn-based to a real-time system. You also have those, as you said, those little Pikmin-like creatures. They're called like Higlegis. I don't know.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. That's the name of it. And what I like about it too that they're bringing it to is also this kind of you're building up your own kingdom and you're recruiting citizens.
That's
and like
always fun.
that's always fun, and especially
Sneak
in
it in.
level 5 games.
Yeah.
Like they're good at that. So you have that, and then to add on top of it, they have this cool new tactical skirmish mode where the people you recruit so you recruit people and they can help you like advance your magic and build better item shops. But then they also can go into this skirmish mode, and certain ones, depending on who you recruit, will be like an archer or a warrior. And you have like these 4 sets of units, and you kind of can use the controller to like steer the direction they're in, to like give with the shoulder buttons to like get a tactical edge on your positioning.
Okay.
And then you go and you can, you know, go after waves of other enemies and you try to fight to survive. And there's all these extra skills that you have to it, like an all-out attack. You have something to, get your characters out of trouble in a jiffy. And there's also a few like special attacks. Like one guy could like call in an airstrike. And so that was pretty cool just to see everything go down. So
that sounds neat.
There's just all this variety to it that I really appreciated and liked. And the controls felt smooth and the bosses were just so detailed and fun. And
still looks good.
Yes.
It seems like from the outside perspective, it seemed like VR was a huge focus, which is strange. It feels like E3 a couple years ago. Or is that just like the most sensational part that everyone was tweeting about?
VR last year was also making waves in Japan, and
creepy waves.
Yeah, creepy waves. So I'm gonna say I actually played that summer lesson game.
Yeah.
Through VR, and was not expecting that was an experience.
It came out a couple years ago, so this is the one I think we talked about it on the podcast a couple years ago. But you're like learning English or teaching a hot girl English in VR. Is that the gist of it?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're answering her questions, and then like all of a sudden, she does like this magic trick on you and like takes a sword and
what?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
This hot girl murders you in the game?
Well, it's a magic trick. So she's not, but like you're sitting there in the VR thing and all of a sudden you look down and you're like, wait, she's coming towards me with a sword. So it's like, it's one of the scarier experiences.
Sounds like my ex-wife, Joe.
Oh,
I also heard that Capcom, Capcom has a game there where you're like, there's some boy lover that's like trapped in a cell. In jail. And you're trying to free him?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, this game, it's not coming to us. But
sounds great.
Yeah, it was celebrating its 1 year anniversary. You find out this guy's in prison and he has amnesia and doesn't know why he was there.
What a hunk.
And it's a dating love sim kind of thing.
And then he stabs you with a sword.
He's probably not such
prison
a bad guy.
Love? What?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
And look, Capcom, they get around. They're having a good time.
It's not going to come here.
Also, I also heard on the 8-4 Play podcast, they're talking about the Gundam VR experience. I don't know if you saw it or played it, but it sounds effing wild. So there's this Gundam game where you aren't like in the cockpit like you'd think. You are just sitting on the hand of your best friend Gundam, who's in the middle of a fight and trying to protect you. Think like the end of Kong Skull Island, the great Kong Skull Island, right? And then at TGS, they actually had you sit on a fake platform. So you put the helmet on and it tricked you into thinking that you were actually on the Gundam's hand. And they had like his full thumb that you could like hug to hang on to as they like move the platform. And also you like dangled your feet off. So it would trick you into thinking you're like 100 feet in the air on this Gundam. It sounds awesome.
I want to play that.
Yeah. I mean, there's no play. You just sit there, but it sounds awesome.
I also love the idea of like someone having a living room, like setting up a game room with this ridiculous like thumb platform so they can play their favorite game, Gundam
like
VR.
Inviting company over, like, no, don't worry, I'm a gamer. That's why there's a giant plastic thumb in my living room. You'll understand later.
Pre-order bonus.
It's really wonderful. Kim, any other highlight of the trip we should cover real quick?
Well, I just want to I had a lot of fun playing the new Fortune Street, which probably will not come here, but it's Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, and I got to play with the producer who had a big dice on his head.
That sounds fun. It came for the Wii?
Yeah, it was with Mario. So this one is for PS4 and Vita, and, it kind of plays like Monopoly, and you're kind of managing stocks and trying to get people into the red, and there's like all these chance options, kind of like Mario Party, where you can shuffle things up, change people's spots.
This seems like a rough game to play in Japanese.
I had a translator now.
Okay, whispering every Mario Party Monopoly option.
Yeah, I mean, they like I said, it was fun. It was a fun experience to play a full demo like that up on a stage and with for 20 minutes and kind of learn. And they have a good cast, like Yuna's in it, Noctis is in it. I'm sorry, little cute versions of them.
Right.
Jessica and Angelo from Dragon Quest VIII.
Who can forget?
I hope it comes here. I doubt it will, but I just wanted to give it some love.
Cherish those memories.
I'm cherishing it. I'll cherish it for all it is. But you know what? It's still a fun show. I mean, there's so much enthusiasm over there for games, and I appreciate it. I'm hoping that in the next coming years, it's sad because Kingdom Hearts 3 just had that huge blowout at D23, so obviously they skipped the show. Like, there's some bigger games that I would have liked to see there that weren't there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it needs that tentpole for next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, hey, do you and Reiner want to give each other a high five? Thanks for being here. Matt Miller and Matt Cotto, welcome to the Den of the Mats.
Hello.
And
Here
this
we are.
guy. And then other guy.
And this other guy. We could rename Joe.
What are you doing
Joe
here?
Matt.
Maybe that's my middle name.
Could be.
Hey,
Joseph
Joe,
Matthew.
ready for this one?
Yeah. Okay.
Welcome, Matt. Anyways, we're talking about a couple games here. Kato, you've been playing your usual batch of games. Do you ever get sick of the genres that you get boiled down to here with racing and sports?
Do you ever get sick of doing a podcast?
All the time. What do you think I dreaded the first thing I woke up this morning?
I get sick of Ben doing the podcast.
Oh my gosh, so many people do. We all love it. No, Kato, I never get sick of it.
No, because, some of them, like GT, aren't around every year. The Forza one, it's different from year to year in the sense that, like, Horizon's a little different, whatever. And it's usually, like, by the time I get sick of it, afterwards, but then it goes away, and then you're like, gee, I wish I could, do that thing I was just doing again.
I could really go for some more FIFA. Let's start out talking about FIFA, right?
All right.
EA's game is out this week officially, but it's that weird kind of hazy release schedule that all EA games have these days.
Yeah, I guess it depends, how tightly you want to grip your pitchfork. But I mean, it's out for some people, but not for everybody, so.
This has to do with the EA like early access, letting people play it a week early, right?
Oh, beyond that, actually, you can get like a premium edition. I don't know what it's exactly called, but you can get like a premium edition, and that's out available to you like 4 days.
So you're paying for the earlier release date, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think EA stands for these days? Anyways, so FIFA, how is it this year?
It's pretty good. If you've played last year's and you like the story mode, the journey story mode, I think you're definitely going to want to pick this one up, if only for that. Because
is that good?
Yeah, it's not only just a continuation of the story, but it just flows a bit different, And so like the story things that they drop in, I wouldn't even call them surprises, because that kind of makes it sound like it's some very like forced sort of narrative in a way, or like, oh, we're going to surprise you. It's not like that, because it's still, they very much know sort of the world that they've got to exist in story-wise, and that's why it works well. But you're going to want to play it because you're going to want to see those beats, and because, again, it's well voice acted, and it's a well-done story. So I think like I said, if you like the last one, I think you're definitely going to want to pick this one up for that.
I can't believe I'm asking this with a sports game, but would I need to have played the first story?
No.
Like, do they follow up on? I mean, it's the same character, right?
Yeah, they follow up on things, but I don't think it's a thing where, I mean, certainly there's not events where you're like, oh, gee, I wonder what happened or whatever. You're not going to be at a loss in that sense, certainly.
Okay.
He's a bull rider now.
So he's like, give me the setup here. Where's this guy in his career as the story starts?
Well, the last one left off where he'd kind of made his mark and he kind of had burst onto the scene.
Okay.
And so now you're following up. Obviously, he's had success. He's on a team, but then sort of more business stuff comes in. And then the first one also had a story with his family. So they were very much the backdrop. All those characters come back. And so at the end of the first one, you had sort of met your father after a time of estrangement, and he's sort of, in the picture. And so you don't really know at the end of the first one what's going to happen, but like I said, his character comes back. And
so wait a minute, does it leave us on a cliffhanger at the end of the first one?
No, I wouldn't say that, no.
Okay, so it's is it fair to call it a renaissance or just a birth of like the story mode campaigns in sports games? We talked a little bit last week with Birch, but it seems like a mainstay in every sports series now, right?
Yeah, they're kind of in a middle ground where it's like NBA has this thing where the story kind of serves as a rough background to basically you customizing your character ad nauseum, right? So they're just cutscenes, for lack of to simplify it, they're cutscenes that fill in what you're normally doing, which is, of course, is just playing games like you normally would and like customizing your character, And so EAs are the opposite end of the spectrum, where they're more about the story and holding your hand through more of like a telltale experience. Now, FIFA does what Madden doesn't, in that it has more gameplay, but even that gameplay is a little bit more, it's different because, I mean, like I said, not super different, but it's not like your average career mode, or it's not to the depth of what NBA is doing. So they're almost on slightly different ends of the spectrum.
Okay, something for everybody for what they want from a story mode in a sports game.
Maybe you play EAs and you're like, oh, I wish I could do this. I could have way more customization like in the NBA. And sometimes maybe you'll play NBA and be like, you know what? Like, the story and whatever, I'm not getting enough of it, or it's just too basic. I want to find out more character. But that's video games, right? I mean, like, it's always that line between how much do I control and how much is it all about me and everything that I do, and how much of it is in the hands of an artist who has crafted a story that they want you to experience a certain way. And, that's all video games art and all that kind of stuff.
But Hansen's right to point out, or is Hansen right to point out that, like, this is like storytelling in sports games is more of like a pillar of the experience and less of the side mode that it was.
Or is it just us non-sports people who see it that way? It's like, oh, this seems more enticing now.
No, I think we're definitely at a stage where, it's going to be an open question for a lot of these games is, do you have a story mode? That probably will in the next couple of years be more of an open question. I actually wrote about it in my Sports Desk column a couple weeks ago where I see, this is the beginning and this is good stuff. But I actually see that it's a pretty finite sort of thing, in my estimation. So we'll have to see how it goes. And I think that it actually might be one of those things where in a couple of years, 2-3 years, it's going to have to take a break. You know what I mean? And it's going to have to do like a, what do they call it when they burn the fields, where you restart everything.
Salt the earth.
Yeah.
Probably different than going
that's
different.
That's that's more like genocide.
Time for Madden to salt the damn earth. All right. So what'd you give FIFA?
I gave FIFA an 8.75.
Awesome. Hey, Project Cars 2. This is hot off the presses. You've been playing
Not even on the presses yet.
Not even on the presses yet.
On the presses yet.
Is it the thing I loved about Project Cars 1, which I actually played along with the Thrustmaster Racing Wheel. I had a wonderful time with it. I was way into that, and I've been pushing racing wheels ever since, and no one listens in this office. But the thing I loved about it, it was so great for quick play. It felt like the Smash Brothers of racing games. It was like, hey, you can just customize it and go. Is it pretty much the same format for Project Cars 2?
Yes, and it has extra things layered on. So it's definitely all about customization again. If you're a career mode person, they've added a little bit more things with career mode where you can have invitational events and sort of manufacturer events dropped in. It adds a little bit extra, but it's not, kind of to your point, it's not why you're there. You're not there to get like, oh, I'm in this career mode upcoming driver and it's setting the scene and I'm like doing R&D and all that stuff. No, like I said, it's about, I want it to snow for approximately 3 laps. And then at the end of that, I want the sun to come out and then I want it to rain. And we're going to have a multiplayer race that does that.
Yeah.
Or I want my HUD, the map's here and I want to literally take it. I want to put it down in this section because that's where I like to look for that. And I want to take this other thing and put it here. It's like, well, why can't you do that in the racing games? Well, Project Cars is about just letting you tinker with all that stuff.
It turns cars into a project, some would say.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Does it feel
not too many people would say that.
Very few.
Yeah, I'm with Miller. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. Is it as good as the first one? How are you feeling about this one?
Well, similar to the first one. Again, it has those customization options, but it also just has that sort of weirdness. Like I have some problems with the AI. Why is this car doing this? Those cells, you'd call them bugs. I know that's kind of a wide, a loose term we use a lot for a lot of different things, but it just has that sort of like weird stuff can happen in that game. And you could say it's just not as polished as something you'd expect with your Forzas and your GTs.
Yeah. Okay, so it's for people who want customization, but not, it's still beautiful, but still a little janky around the edges.
Yes.
Is that the rough idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, like, I think they did, if I recall, they did a pretty good job updating the other one.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of work to do, but they got to it. So I expect a similar sort of thing, but as of right now, you're going to see this kind of weirdness still in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Miller, I'm so excited to have you on this podcast.
I'm excited to be here.
Are you?
I am.
I hope so. Because, look, you've been playing Harmonix's new game, which is a studio we're fascinated by. Yeah. We had Alec Dragopoulos on the podcast a couple months ago to talk about the future of the overall studio.
Yeah.
And one of the things he was hinting towards, which wasn't announced yet at that time, was this game called DropMix.
Absolutely.
Would you call it a game?
I would. But not a video game.
Oh, go on. What is this?
I actually think it's more of a tabletop game / a music toy. But it's really cool.
So it's an app, first of all.
It's a device that you buy.
Okay.
That's like a board that's got 5 card slots on it. It comes with some cards, and then you can also get separately. You can buy packs of cards.
Yeah.
Right? The cards lay out onto this little board into one of the 5 slots, and each of the cards that you play has a piece of a song. So it might be the drum track from one song. Or
famous
the
songs?
vocal track. Yeah, Some of them are famous. Some of them are just good songs.
Like what? Can you give an example of a song someone would know?
Yeah, like the pop song "Call Me Maybe."
Okay, yeah.
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Definitely.
I think it'd be pretty impossible to have avoided hearing that song at some point in the last 5 years, right?
True. Yeah.
That's a like you could maybe have the vocal track of that song. Okay.
Yeah.
You lay it out, and Harmonix. Let's just take a step back for a second and acknowledge that Harmonix is kind of amazing. They do stuff with music, like whether you like their games or not. You got to acknowledge that the things that they have done to make music more accessible to non-musicians over the years, it's just like is doing stuff that nobody else does.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, maybe you never even touched Fantasia, but that was like a remarkable experience of bringing the sensation of engaging with music through motion into just anybody's life.
Who the hell can make a Fantasia video game in the year 2014? It's just insane.
And it was what, and of course, it was part of Connect, which was of course a failed endeavor in most regards, and so very few people played it, but it was a really neat project. And you go back from there, and you had Rock Band, and you had Guitar Hero, and you had Amplitude, and
more importantly, Frequency. Yeah.
And this is in that grand tradition, but it's not a video game, right? You play it on the table. It's more of a classic card game, but with musical components, because you're laying out these cards, and each card that you lay out instantaneously remixes with the cards that are already there to create a sort of tapestry of sound, a remix on the fly.
So is it just freestyling? Just be creative and have some fun?
So there's three main ways that you would interact with it. One is just a total freestyle mode, where you just sit down and you put a card on the table, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty cool drum beat. I wonder what would happen if I put this guitar part on top of that drum beat. Oh, that's kind of cool. You know what it needs? It needs like a really cool, like laid back vocal track. Let me look through my cards. Oh, I've got this one. I'm going to play that. And then you hear that, add it into the mix. And it's got somewhere in the vicinity of like a 64 bar loop of music for every one of these cards, but they all integrate with one another seamlessly. Any card with any other card.
That's amazing.
So how is this not like an elementary school band, like a cacophony simulator? How does that, like what does it?
The technology is completely beyond me. I mean, remix technology has been around for a long time. I mean, this is what DJs have been doing for decades now, where you take one record, you mix it with another record, you match up the beats, you make it sound good together, and all of a sudden you have a new musical creation.
And this just sort of does that automatically.
It does it automatically, maybe not with the same level of artistry that you would have from a world-class DJ, but really well.
So Girl Talk is just going to use DropMix for the next album?
Maybe. And so you create this music on the fly, and that's the freestyle mode.
Yeah.
And then there's also some actual game modes that you play where the board is used in a very particular way, where everybody has a certain number of cards, and okay, on this turn I can play. I'm supposed to play this kind of card. There's a sort of cooperative party mode that's all about like the game is asking for a particular card, and one of you needs to play that card. There's also a clash mode where like 2 to 4 players are competing, like in teams, to play particular cards and push the opponent's cards off of the table.
What the hell? Hey, just to liven it up a little bit. Yeah. This sounds fascinating, but what if underneath it we piped in some of your hot remixes, Miller, as you're continuing to explain this game?
And you tell me when you want to change these out. But I've got a few of them pulled up here, and we've got to pipe through our. Oh, they're truly remarkable. Fantastic. These are going to go to number 1 on the top 40 radio stations almost instantaneously, I think. So I hope everybody's ready.
All right, let us know when they're playing there. And Cody in the booth, you wanna pot that baby up?
So you can, when you get these mixes, when you finish one, you save it if you want to. And then you can send it along to somebody else. Anybody else who has the app, and by the way, the app works on iPhone, Android, whatever, right? Yeah. Anybody else who has the app can see your mix and download it and play it for themselves, which is super fun.
Yeah.
We were talking about Call Me Maybe, so here you go.
Turns out Miller mixed that into every one of his remixes.
I have it in all of my remixes.
It was one of only 4 cards I had.
And so this is, each one of these is a different piece of music, and you can actually pull up whether you're doing it on the fly or you're receiving, like I send you this mix, you could tap on it and see each of the pieces, right? So this, I've got a kind of guitar part here from Sam Hunt. I've got this artist, Frida Turner, who's got the kind of beat in the background.
Okay.
We've got a Ricky Martin tune that's kind of like giving us a little bit of that like Latin flavor thing going on.
Absolutely, you can really taste it.
And so each of these has their own piece that they're contributing.
Yeah.
So let's hear it. We'll pop out to another one.
Now, are there ever multiple pieces from the same song? Let's say you have a
There are.
song and you want a different piece of it.
Yep. So you can get you might have like the guitar part and the vocal part for one song. It's I've yet to come across a full set of like all 5 being from the same song, but this probably
Play the
exists.
song. What a hot remix.
That's what made me laugh about it before, is the idea of like you have this tool that does all of the musical stuff and you're just like, God, okay, finally, call me maybe.
Instead of just paying 99
Yeah.
cents on
I've
iTunes,
always
you're buying all these
wanted
loot boxes of cards.
So anyway, I mean, I think that there's a lot of stuff that you can do with the game. I've played it with like my nephews and nieces between the ages of like 5 and 16.
Yeah.
And they had a blast
Really?
just playing with the freestyle stuff where literally it's just like, here's some cards, put them on the table. Can you hear what changes? And, the little kids were going crazy. And a little later, the teenagers, like, once I left the room, we're just going crazy, making mixes.
They went mad.
And it was really fun for them.
Yeah.
Right? But I think it's also a tool that you can play with at home by yourself when you're just kind of just want to make these interesting remixes and kind of listen to what they do.
Yeah.
But you then have this game mode that you can play with other people, which turns it into this kind of like party game experience.
Quick question: 64 bar loop roughly. What's the
I think
time
that's
on
about what
something
it
like
is. I haven't
that?
counted it
Are we
out.
talking like a minute or longer or
Yeah, I think a couple minutes maybe.
couple minutes?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I wish I could tell you. I never timed it out. But I mean, it's not like a short thing, right? Like we're hearing the whole like sort of vocal track through like verse and chorus here for this Sia song, right?
Yeah.
And you'll hear it here in what looks like about 8 bars. It's gonna like
It doesn't feel like a short gimmicky loop.
no. The tech again is totally beyond me. I'm presuming it's something to do with there must be like a microchip in the cards that it's reading, much like a Toys to Life kind of a thing.
Yeah. So the cynic in me, which is only a small fraction
course.
of my soul, but the cynic in me says, well, Hasbro, who worked with Harmonix on this, right?
Yes, it's a Hasbro Harmonix combined
Collaboration. They just wanted to get on that CCG angle of buying random card packs to try and get the mixes you want. Like, is that how this thing is doled out? Is it going to be sold in stores?
Yeah, I think it's sold in stores. I think it's out now. Was supposed to be out now. I haven't gone to a store to check, but
Okay.
supposedly it was out this week. And they you do have that random card aspect thing. So whether you like that or not, that is what it is. You
Yeah.
get some cards that come with the game.
I
But
feel like if a company like Hasbro really wanted to get in on the CCG scene, they would maybe find a property more lucrative than Harmonix and like,
The bass beat from a Ricky Martin song.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that Hasbro is investing big in this. I mean, I think that
That's awesome.
They want it to be a success, and
I'm not saying they did. I guess I just mean is like to Hanson's point, if they were really looking for a big piece
Yeah.
of the pie,
Yeah.
they would do something else. This seems like a clever sort of think-takey music toy.
yeah.
Well, kind of on and Hanson, you brought this up. I didn't bring this up. The cynicism thing. So I'm just going on your vibe.
Right. I'm feeling the cynicism
Yeah,
within you.
yeah.
I understand.
So the meta is the meta for this that modern music is interchangeable and it all sounds the
interesting.
same.
I think it probably isn't a dramatically different message from what you've heard from the dance and electronica scene for the last 20 years, which is them saying that music has a way of kind of like being able to be combined and changed in new ways. That's maybe the other way to interpret that. I think that there's a lot of great artists out there who are primarily remix artists who have created some music that is unforgettable. And they're using samples and they're using remixes of existing tracks and make some great music out of it. This is that same principle, but brought to a very accessible, quick play experience, right? You don't have to learn how to like match up beats on a record, or even, more recently how to do that on a laptop. You're doing it with just putting a card on a table and hearing it. And to be fair, in this experience, the music can be almost an ancillary thing, right? While Hansen could sit at home and just like make remixes for himself that he saves and he sends to his buddies or whatever, it's also the idea that like the card game is a pretty fun game, right? You have a little hand of cards and you're like, okay, I need to play this card and I need to try to kick your card off. And you have the bonus as you're playing this fun little card game that every card that's played out on the board and every card that comes off changes the music that you're hearing, which is, I don't know, just kind of neat.
Cool. Miller, should I buy this?
I don't know. I think
if you wanted to buy it, how much does it cost?
I think it's $100 for the like actual like board.
I felt that cynicism spike.
Holy Lord! I thought it would be like a $15 little thingy.
No,
okay,
no.
$100.
I think so. I don't know that for sure. We can look it up quick. Yeah, it's $100.
Miller, yeah, you're right. We looked it up. $100. So
Pure surprise once again.
Good God! So it's like a little platform that you put a beat down on. It's $100.
It is, and you're paying more money for the cards.
What the What? That deflates all enthusiasm I had for this thing.
I'm sorry. I think, as I said, I think that the experience is a novel one, but if it's not worth that amount of money for you, then that's going to be their challenge, right?
You could get like a used turntable and a stack of records for that. Two turntables, and then you could scratch.
And a microphone.
A microphone, and you could buy Harmonix.
I think you got to remember how much, like a big like music toy peripheral thing, when you were getting Guitar Hero or Rock Band was somewhere in that vicinity.
Yeah.
But those took up your whole living room, as everyone knows.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how much you enjoy the experience and how much you want to have that sensation of sort of creating music on the fly.
But you were really charmed by it.
I was charmed by it. Yeah. I thought it was neat. I am always a little bit suspicious of blind card kinds of experiences, as I am here. But all the card packs that I've seen come with like interesting new cards, new little pieces of songs that expand the experiences in fun ways. So, I think, again, it's going to depend on how much you want that.
Naturally. Now, the crucial question, are there freeze pop cards?
I haven't seen any freeze pop songs yet.
Am I gonna have to?
Which seems like a big mistake.
Yeah, and if it's just floating somewhere out there, but it's like the rare legendary card.
It just needs to be like an expansion.
There are
the Super Sprode expansion.
There are weird ones that are like surprise cards that I'm like, whoa, why is this in here? Like one of the ones in there I saw was the Doctor Who theme.
That's
just like the weird synth one.
Oh my god!
So you just like lay it out, and all of a sudden it's like woo, and it's getting mixed in with like Skrillex beat in the background.
I'm pulling out $100 bill from my wallet.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I can't tell anybody whether it's like worth the money or not for you, because everybody's got a different value scale on that. I can tell you that it's really fun.
Awesome.
The game is fun. And again, by the way, just as another point of comparison, a good board game these days does cost between $50 and $120.
Okay.
And this is positioned to be a thing that you would break out on a board game night and play with your friends.
Yeah.
But with the bonus of like, I can also break it out by myself and like do some fun like freestyle mixes.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fascinating project. I'm
It's
glad
weird
that it made it through the pipeline.
Harmonix is like is fascinating to me, not just because of their ability to do all this stuff, but they do stuff that is so consistently weird. I always worry about them a little bit, right? like like the Fantasia thing, right? Like, what a great game, and yet it was in this weird fringe place.
Yeah,
that
Vid Rhythm, City Never Sleeps. Like they have so many small projects.
Just-
Beatniks, things that people maybe even forget about.
I feel like Harmonix needs just like a ridiculously wealthy benefactor that can just fund their, because like what they do is really artistic and like interesting in studying the way that like people interact with music and entertainment at the same time. But like because it is kind of experimental, like they're not guaranteed any kind of commercial success for the stuff that they put out there. But I'm so glad it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks guys. The two Matts, you guys want to high five your way out of here? Or clap.
We'll do some clapping. You
All right,
ready?
bye, guys. Love
All right,
you.
here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Kyle,
Yes.
Reeves,
Hey,
Joe won't
Still me.
leave. Welcome, guys.
Sorry, everyone.
I didn't know Joe was going to be here.
Kyle, last week, real quick, we talked to Leo Vader.
Yes.
And he
I've
was
met him.
ranting and raving about this game Heat Signature.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, Leo, all right, buddy.
Calm
we'll humor you
down.
for a minute or two.
Yeah.
You're
But-
not a real editor.
How dare you? That hurts as a video person. But then you played the game and you seemed to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Leo was pretty much
Yeah.
right for the most part.
Also, the game sold twice as many copies as Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite on Steam.
Did it
so,
really?
Yeah, we should probably pay
I think,
attention to it.
I think the
Wow.
reviews are overwhelmingly positive with like 800 reviews or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like you guys talked about last week, I think Leo actually did do a good job of explaining kind of what it is.
FTL meets Hotline Miami.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good way to kind of mash it up.
And it's the team behind the game Gunpoint, which a lot of people loved, right?
Yeah, Tom Francis.
Yep, you got
Is that
it.
right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, and Gunpoint was very cool. And it's just it finds this weird middle ground between action and strategy where you can it's like if you think of Hotline Miami, but you could pause at like every encounter and like think through what you want to do.
Yeah.
I was surprised by the level of strategy too.
Yeah,
because
Reeves
you
has
can
been playing
pause
it
at
as
any
well.
time. So like you'd think, well, it's a real time action game, but like I mean, it can be quote unquote sort of turn based whenever you want it to be because you like pause, do an action, immediately pause again, and plan your next action.
And
It's
the
actually
charm
pretty cool.
seems like the variety and the fun of the actions you can do while paused. Just
Yeah.
crazy weapons you can use, teleport people around, launch them out into space.
Yeah, like my thing is I like to take in like multiple swords. So I'll like come up on a group of like 3 or 4 people. I'll pull out a sword, kill a guy, pause, use my second sword, pause, use my third sword and kill a guy, and then maybe blow out a window and like launch into space and remote control my ship to come pick us up. It's really cool. You can get into really tricky situations and it gives you a lot of tools to get out of them in
It
interesting
kind
ways.
of, now that you describe it that way, it kind of gives some of the same vibes as Super Hot. I don't know if you guys played that as well.
Yeah, and in fact, I wish one of the things the game is missing, I guess you could say, is I wish you could watch like a real time replay of what you went through to
just
see
like
it.
Super Hot.
Yeah, which is kind of something Super Hot do, which would be very cool. So, but yeah,
for
good
sure.
game. Yeah,
What'd you
for
end up
sure.
giving it score wise?
I have it at 8.5.
There we go. Joe, you also reviewed SteamWorld Dig too.
Yeah.
I thought that this was just a port to the Switch, but this is a whole new game, huh?
SteamWorld Dig 2 is a brand new game out on Switch, PS4, PC, and Vita. I
Holy
think.
cow! I can't believe I missed that.
I think Vita's a little delayed. I think it's like a month
Oh,
or so, but
okay,
it's
well.
coming to Vita.
People
Yeah.
are too busy playing their Vita other games on their Vita, so might as well.
It's
delay
all right.
it.
They can wait.
That's fine. No, I played the Switch version though.
Okay, and this is like a Metroidvania, but then also roguelike, randomized. How would you describe this?
Yeah, so it's very much along the lines of the first game in a lot of ways, which is really centered around that loop of like you dig down in a mine, you get resources, you buy upgrades so you can dig deeper down into the mine.
Sounds good.
And
There's a game, everybody.
yeah,
Ship
and
it.
that goes. Except
It's that easy to make too.
where it gets, in my mind, where it gets more interesting in this one is like I think the upgrades in this game are more interesting because a lot of them, more along the kind of Metroid line, a lot of them are more like mobility focused.
Yeah.
So it bothers me. It's a personal pet peeve when someone's like, hey, it's a Metroidvania because you get a bunch of different guns and different guns open different doors. And what I love about this game and like Metroid is your access to different areas is really more about like your mobility, about like whether you can jump there or slide under there or phase through something or things like that. So this game focuses a lot more on just like how you move around the world, how you explore the world.
Okay.
So those upgrades are really cool. And then it also has something that reminds me a bit of like the shrines in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Where they have a lot of little caves that you come across. And these little caves kind of have little standalone puzzles that you do that when you get them, you get like a little upgrade cog or a secret item or something like that. So it's fun to sort of figure they're little like puzzle rooms that you figure out.
This
So,
sounds great. What'd you end up giving that?
That's also an 8.5.
Fantastic.
Battle of 8.5s. I was just gonna say those are very crafted rooms.
Yeah, exactly.
Not all
So the
randomly
idea,
generated,
I mean, maybe the game is randomized, like when you. I don't know for sure to what degree like the game is randomized, but it's once you're in a map, like it's persistent. It doesn't like reset every time you go down into the mine.
Okay. Interesting.
Do you also hate when people call them Metroidvania games? Have we talked about that on the podcast before?
Yeah, I don't know that we need to get into it.
He hates it. He hates it when people talk to him, period, let alone when they talk to him about Metroidvania.
Yeah.
It's not called for.
It's a dumb word.
It's Castleroid, for Christ's sake.
Yes! This is not hard. Do you guys want to move on to some great emails?
Let's do it.
All right, and welcome back to the Game Informer Show. Some great emails from the community here. They sent in their wonderful emails to podcast@GameInformer.com. They sent in feedback, questions, news items they want us to cover, random words of wisdom, everything you could possibly imagine. Send it to podcast@GameInformer.com. So many great emails. We're going to read through the best of the best here and then choose the tippy top best and ship them out something very nice.
The tippy top best.
All
Some
right.
say the nicest gift that's ever been gifted. What is it? Find out. Win question of the week, podcast@GameInformer.com. Number one email, not ranking, but order-wise.
The first.
There's a guy named Joe, and he says, hello, Ben Hansen. You guys have said some objectively stupid things on the podcast before.
subjectively.
Okay.
But why no love for Krillin from Dragon Ball Z on the August 17th podcast? The comment, quote, he is the strongest human, understates his role. Krillin is like what Hawkeye is to the Avengers. Yeah, that was our argument. He's effing lame. Just a human going out and battling super-powered beings while saving the Earth time and time again. All right, before he gets to his points, the idea that he's going out and battling super-powered beings, that is hardly Krillin does.
He's spectating.
Yeah, he goes out on a limb like, I don't know if I can make it. And then he goes out and then watches every fight and is then horrified, like, how'd they get so strong? That's just every scene with
Now, wait a
Krillin.
minute.
Wait, he's just a super fan who goes to all the
Pretty much.
pay-per-view
Yes,
events?
actually, yes.
Sometimes he shaves his head. He's so good.
Kyle, wasn't
Yeah.
I Krillin? Didn't you say I was Krillin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So then he's
Now
going
I
to
understand.
now I'm more
Okay.
invested in this.
Joe argues here he stood over Vegeta with a sword and was going to kill him until Goku asked him not to. These are the cool things he's done. All-powerful Super Saiyan Vegeta was going to be killed by Krillin. I doubt he would have died.
Yeah, I
from
think
Krillin.
the sword would have broken.
Krillin steals Dragon Balls from both Frieza and Vegeta to stop either from becoming immortal and then helped battle the Ginyu Force. Look, I mean, the Ginyu Force is probably going to drown in the Namekian Ocean anyway.
The Dragon Ball stealing, I'll put
That's
that
okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. He married an android. Look, who hasn't done that? I think the main character from Her marries an android.
Yeah, that seems a little weird.
You know what? Kyle married an android.
Exactly.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, I'm a
Only-
big Krillin fan.
The only wife who listens to this podcast. Also,
you're
Krillin
Krillin it.
Krillin becomes a police officer later in life.
A very good one.
Noble profession, but
Yeah.
not exactly super powered cool guy because he came a police officer.
Is he actually human, like on Earth?
Oh, yeah.
And his name's Krillin? Like, what is this?
Well, there's also like dinosaurs running around.
There's a character
like-
named Bra. I mean,
Yeah, the Brief family
I
is
would
very
name my
big.
kid Bra before I named him Krillin.
Is that a dare?
Bra Reeves.
In conclusion, Joe says Krillin is the best and the only bad character is Yamcha. Yamcha is awful. I love Yamcha.
Yeah.
Yamcha was my main back in the Budokai days, so please. never
this might be a
bash Yamcha.
spoiler for Dragon Ball Super, but there's a scene where Krillin's like, "Hey Goku, why don't you hit me?" And so I can
Oh,
see how this
yeah.
goes. And he like launches him like halfway across the
it is a
world.
better scene than you're pitching because it's like, man, you've been fighting for so long. You're so much stronger than me. Like, I just want to know because I haven't fought in so long. Krillin's like, Goku, I just want to know what it's like conceivably to be punched by you.
Yeah.
And they're just like standing in the middle of a farm. Like, I don't know what
Yeah.
the hell they're doing. And Goku's like, are you sure? And Krillin's like, yes. Are you sure? Yes. Like, all right. I'm going to punch you like I punched one of the bad guys. He punches him in the head. Krillin's skull should have just shattered
Yeah.
at that
God, yeah.
point. But instead they just do like a cartoony thing where he flies across the entire earth and crashes into a rock and then has an ice pack on in the next scene. And his android wife.
His wife is like, "Why did you do that?
Of
You
course
idiot!"
he's strong.
It's a good show.
I hope to talk more about Dragon Ball in the future. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be amazing.
Who knows? Maybe we will. Luke from St. Paul, Minnesota says, how do you guys feel before you start a big game? Are you excited to play something you can really sink your teeth into? Grr. Or do you get anxious under the impending time commitment? Or do you push it back into your brain knowing you'll get to it eventually? How do you feel about that long road ahead?
It is a big old sigh.
Down the
Sometimes I'm excited. Like with Zelda, I was pretty excited.
Yeah.
But then with Persona, I tried to start Persona several times, and if I'm going to play a big game, I know I need to set aside like several hours. I don't want to like, oh, I have half an hour tonight and I'm going to play it. I need to like set aside some time, get ready.
And that time will never come, so you'll keep
pizza
delaying.
ready. Yeah, exactly. So I still haven't finished Persona. Of
course not.
But
again, no one in the world has finished Persona. Go ahead, Joe.
I finished Persona.
sure.
Brian Shea's finished
Prove it.
Persona.
There's no evidence.
Suriel
of
has
this.
finished Persona.
No.
I've finished Persona as well. Yeah.
Oh wait, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Holy cow!
Uh-huh.
Congratulations! Nice.
Oh, great.
That ending, huh?
It definitely ended. There were some credits. So that's my proof.
You're idiots. For me, it really depends on like actually what I was recently playing. Like, let's say like if I have just finished a very big game, the prospect of like it's happened before where it's like, okay, finished one 50-hour game, let's jump into another 50-hour game, and that first hour is just like pulling teeth. And I don't know if there's ever been a time that I've been. Oh no, I have been able to do it before, but the beginning hours are really rough as I kind of like extract myself from one world and sort of get into a groove in a new one. Right?
Yeah, transition period's always tough.
Yeah.
I've definitely like had to tell myself like, all right, beeline just main objective stuff for like at least 5 hours. Like
in the mirror, like Dirk Diggler.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't get distracted by the side quests, like because you're just gonna kill yourself. If you try to do everything right out of the gate.
I hear you. Hazel Mohammed from South Carolina, he writes in a lot. He says, "Hello, Ben and Jai people. I personally take offense at Hanson's claim that no one has ever completed Persona 5.
Is this a text message?
I've completed it twice so far, and I'm bracing myself for a third run somewhere in the near future to get that platinum.
All right.
Somebody's forcing him to play?
Maybe. God bless you. Again, great game. Not going to argue that.
Oh, yeah.
Just stupid luck.
Really good.
Stupid luck. Anyways, Hazel Mohammed also says, are Game Informer's Extra Life plans solidifying at this point? If so, any teases you can offer about what we may see this year? We're starting to try and lock that down in a mad dash to the finish line. It's coming up November 4th. That's our 25-hour stream for charity. And if you didn't watch the last couple of years, we've really gone all out. And it's been a lot of fun, a lot of big auctions for fun things. So we'll have some surprises along the way as far as what those surprises are. We're only about 80% confident we can pull it off, so I don't want to say anything yet.
Hanson?
Yeah.
That's only about a month away.
Look, I know, Reeves. We've had several planning meetings, and it's getting to the point where next phase is like weeding out all garbage and get like action plan. We got to start sprinting on this thing right now.
Yeah.
Why did we start with garbage? We should have really not started there.
Yeah, don't put garbage on the list.
we should
Okay,
put garbage
all
on
right.
there.
Yeah,
Then you don't
yeah.
have to sort it out later.
Absolutely. Jay Krug says, "Hey, GI, longtime subscriber since about 1995. I've read every issue from top to bottom. You read from left to right. Pro tip, Jay. Just a little magazine humor." He says, "If you could pick one developer or publisher and learn everything about them, all canceled ideas, projects, all projects in discussion, planned on, working currently, who would you pick? Who would you want to learn just everything about?"
That's an easy one for me, especially if you're talking about like just everything under the umbrella of one publisher or developer is like Square Enix for me.
Oh, that's good.
Because like that there were some plans for like a Chrono Trigger sequel or Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, and like there must have been plans for a third game somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
So and like knowing even more, we actually learned some stuff, like for our Final Fantasy 15 coverage for that story, we learned a little bit about Versus 13 and what that was, but like to know that story more completely and stuff.
Also, forget the games.
Yeah.
You just get to know like what Nomura's actually like behind the scenes, that type of thing. Which, by the way, Joe, this is
everything about their personal lives. Is that what you?
That's what you want to know. This is a deep, deep cut.
Okay.
But Leo and I were hanging out in the studio the other day, like a couple of cool guys, and we booted up an old episode of Gamer Gorilla, which used to infect the old Game Informer podcast like 7+ years ago for the old timers.
I remember that.
Thank you to all those who've been subscribing for so long. Maybe Jay here has. But you told a story on this episode of Gamer Gorilla I don't think I've heard before about like Nomura doing an interview and not paying attention. He was like playing with soy sauce packets.
Yeah.
And then you said that Katase screamed at him or like gave him a look like, "Hey, shape up, you little shit."
Let's see. So I think Reiner was in the room with me, and so he could back this up. I might have been wrong. I don't remember it as being Katase who screamed at him. I think it was Shinji Hashimoto, who's the like series Final Fantasy like brand producer or something, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this was a long time ago now. My memory may be imperfect, but yeah, I remember basically it seemed like he was distracted and kind of playing around with some like soy sauce or ketchup packets or something on the table.
Nomura loves ketchup packets.
And basically, his boss was just sort of like gave in Japanese. I don't know what he said, but definitely sort of gave him like a scolding in front of everyone. And then like Nomura sat up a little straighter and started answering questions a little better. So
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, back to Jay's question here. Reed, did you have a good one here?
Well, I was just gonna say, if you do Square Enix, do you get like when it was just Square, when it was just Enix? Do you learn all that history too, or just
if you
when they
go back and
merged?
branch it like a Y?
why did ActRaiser 2 happen that way? Come on.
Well, so if you pick like EA, would you like get every company that EA has absorbed in like their secret histories?
Jay does not specify.
I wish for more wishes.
Let's say let's say you do.
Well, then I might do EA. My original answer was going to be somewhere like LucasArts, just because I think they would have like some crazy stories. I think, especially just with the crazy stuff I've heard, not knowing everything that they've done, but just to like know about more like the 1313 or Darth Maul games, like and other projects that never even made it out. I think that'd be super interesting.
Yeah,
and Star Wars stuff, which would be really cool, and the Indiana Jones game that never happened.
Yeah, that's true. There's enough there.
I went to go see that. I did a feature on that game.
I thought that game sounded really cool.
Those are good. With like Joe's Square choice, it's like, oh, that's a solid one. But I feel like there's not huge gaps in the library where I don't feel like I'm sure they have a ton of canceled games. But when I think it'd be fascinating to know what was boiling up. Instead, I have to go with like a Blizzard. I think we talked about it months ago on the podcast, right? But it'd be so fun to know like what Blizzard has tried. Like I bet at some time they've made a fighting game. I bet they've tried every genre. I just want to know like what that first step in all the different genres that Blizzard has tried looked like and what they're going for.
Or Valve and just know all of the weird iterations that Half-Life 3 or Episode 3.
Those would be my answer.
Yeah.
I'll find out what f-stop is, stuff like that.
You want to explain that?
F-stop is the secret mechanic. You'll have to help me with this. Like it was a mechanic that they developed. Like they did like a gamer jam, and they came up with this secret
gamer jam.
Yeah, where they paused development for like 2 weeks.
You mean and game jam,
gamer jam.
This guy,
what a joke.
You know what? I'm not going to explain it if you're going to trigger it.
Go on, explain it.
But it was this mechanic that they came up with during the gamer jam.
Gamer jam.
A bunch of gamers got together and jammed, and that's all we know is the name of it. But it's apparently Newell was like so impressed by it that he's like, well, we got to save this. We got to make a game out of this mechanic that you guys came up with.
Yeah.
But all we know is what it's called. We don't know what it is. It has some affiliation with Portal.
They were going to put it in Portal 2, then they're like, Gabe Newell, I think the story is that he shit his pants. He said, this is too powerful of an idea.
Right.
This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. We need to save this for our next game.
And this story, by the way, I think I read it in Jeff Keighley's Portal 2 app, like the final hours.
Yeah.
Right?
I think, yeah,
Why
they
are you
talk about
laughing
it.
at me? I'm
just imagining like an interactive segment in that weird app where you can like tap on Newell to become his pants. Sorry, I'm losing my mind.
Anyway, Valve.
The second he saw f-stop the mechanic,
find out what happens, what's going on with Left 4 Dead, what's going on with Half-Life, if there is a future for Portal, which I don't think there is anyway.
No. But speaking of which, a new Half-Life game came out last week. I don't think anybody talked about it.
We talked about it.
What?
What?
Are we talking about two different things?
I think we're talking about two different things.
Okay.
On Steam, there's some fan project that apparently quietly got the blessing. I didn't see anybody write about it, but it's like Half-Life : Survival or something. It's released on the front page of Steam. It's just completely under the radar.
What kind of game is it?
It's a Half-Life game.
Shooter.
It's like I think you're going through Half-Life environments, and it's more just like a survival challenge type thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Might be worth checking out at some point. Anyways, Eric from Madison, Wisconsin, God's country, says, is there any particular content or idea that you're always excited to see in a game regardless of genre? It's a weird question, but I think I like it. For instance, are you always excited when you see a game set in space, a game that has dinosaurs, a classic fantasy environment? Like, what is the universal thing that when you see in a game, you get more interested?
If it is a 2D platformer and you can build the map out as you explore, I get excited.
I don't understand.
If you can track your movement, like like Metroid,
you
grow the map.
Oh, like a Castroid.
Yes, like a castle ride.
Okay,
right.
yeah.
So that if I see that in a 2D platformer, if it's like we're going to track your progress and your map is going to progressively grow as you make your way through this game, that gets me excited.
I call that a turn off where I come from.
What other games other than like the Metroid style games are you talking about?
Castlevania.
Okay.
No, there's been a couple. I'd have to sit and think about it, but like I think we were talking this morning about Way Forward. just in the office. Another cool developer. And I think Mighty Switch Force might have had something like that where you're like building out your map. I could be wrong about that, but I've seen it elsewhere, and it's always something that I'm like, it's just a small mechanic that I just like to see.
Speaking of small thing, and this isn't my answer, but I don't know if you guys saw it, but it reminds me of it. Have you guys seen gameplay footage of the Secret of Mana remake? They do something really cool where the art style, debatable, right? But in the game, as you're playing, they have a map in the upper right corner, and the map is just the actual 2D sprites, like the old art from the Super Nintendo Secret of Mana game.
Oh,
it's a really
cool.
clever way to reuse that art.
Oh,
It's like,
that's
that's
smart.
just the map. That's what it looks like.
Huh.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Crap.
Holy mother
my.
of God.
I just crapped my pants.
I put a real game mule. The map was f-stop. The map was f-stop.
We figured it out.
This podcast is stupid now. I miss Helgeson.
Yeah.
But
we all.
The one, go ahead, Joe.
I wanted to say for me, the big mechanic if it's in a game is like building a base, not in like an RTS sense, but in like you're talking like something like Dragon Age Inquisition or even like Assassin's Creed 2. Was it 2 that was Monteriggioni or whatever? And Brotherhood. So basically, it's like if you have like a home base that is getting bigger, you're building new structures, you're recruiting people to help you out there.
Exactly what Kim just talked about earlier with Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is
that
good.
kind of thing is. I'm a sucker for that for sure.
Here's one that's I don't know if it fits within this boundaries, but I'm going to say it anyway. Breaking the fourth wall. Always exciting. Even just like the littlest. I mean, obviously Metal Gear is always like a classic example of stuff, but even just weird stuff. Like, I remember playing through Enslaved for the first time, and Monkey keeps having like visions. And one of the first visions that he has early in that game, it's like a flash, and it's just a photo of like the inside of an office building. And I was like, holy crap, is the end of this game? Like, everything's going to break down. You're going to like meet the developers that are making this game. Turns out that game goes off the rails in a different way.
Yeah, it's
but just like
definitely
any
off the
sort
rails.
of hint of breaking the fourth wall and just like, F it, let's just have some fun and do something experimental. I'm always on board for it.
Wow, that is like a huge turnoff for me.
Really?
Yeah, I dislike when games do that.
It's almost like you're different people.
I don't understand. This is news to me.
Have you ever played that game Mad Hazard?
No, I never have.
Yeah,
It's all
that
about
was.
fourth wall
I thought
breaking,
you
right?
liked that game, Joe.
Well, that was like that's so that game is just so like stupid and it's like
Oh, if it's stupid, then it's
no. What I mean is that like that game is so like lighthearted about it. Like it's more like a cartoon that like all of the jokes rely on that kind of thing versus like a game that gets you invested in a fictional universe and then does a like about face of like but the real world kind of stuff.
Or
Oh,
even
if it's
forget the
stupid-
choice, but like little nods like the Pokemon series. It's cool. You can like visit the Game Freak studio within the Pokemon games. You go around and talk to all the developers. Like, I worked on the sound. I love that kind of crap.
What about like Stanley Parable?
Oh,
Stuff like
that's
that.
just one of my
I
favorite.
mean, that's
games
that
ever.
the whole
Yeah.
core of that game is
Right.
like, you know,
I guess I
love
like that
secret
too. I
games
guess I
in
don't know what I
games.
really.
You don't know what you like.
Yeah, I guess I can't really pinpoint exactly what
if
bugs
it's
me
too
about it.
winky, maybe that's the line, right?
that's the point. Yeah, Kyle knows my opinion.
Yeah, Winky the Frog. Perfect. From Donkey Kong Country.
Joe from Allentown, Pennsylvania. A lot of
Everybody who
Joes.
writes in is Joe.
That's
now?
good.
It seems like
They're
everybody-
taking
busy.
over. Dear Hanson, please have Joe more on the podcast. more often.
JoeCast@GameInformer.com.
Yeah.
Hey, GI Crew. Sony has never adopted an official mascot for the PlayStation brand. Who do you think of as the unofficial mascot for the brand as a collective whole? At this point, they kind of unofficially adopted Crash, PS1 era, PS2, kind of Jack and Daxter, kind of Ratchet and Clank, strangely enough, even though they didn't own Insomniac, right?
So it'd just be like Nathan Drake now? Just continue that trend?
I mean, Kratos, the fact that he's around still, maybe.
Kratos was more like PS2, PS3 though.
That's kind of. I think PS2 and I think Kratos.
Yeah.
Maybe Trico.
Just because it's been in development since the PS2 era.
That spans generations. So.
I do equate Trico specifically to PlayStation though, in a weird way. Like that, I don't expect that game ever to appear on any other console.
I think mascots aren't really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Like, even Nintendo doesn't really use Mario as the mascot like they used to. I wouldn't say. I mean, he's definitely
they do.
around.
I think
Definitely
they do. I mean, like if you go to like walk down the aisles, like when it's like, hey, the Nintendo section of the store is always a big red picture of Mario. And stuff,
On the,
right?
still.
on the Super NES Classic, if you let it sit for too long,
Yeah.
Mario comes out and like starts jumping on stuff and like
but still, Joe.
Come on. Well, what's the Xbox one? Master Chief? Is that what the assumption is?
no,
Teraflop. Lovable bunny.
Teraflop. Just a really like realistic looking rabbit rendered with fur physics and stuff.
He doesn't say anything cute or anything. The camera just zooms up real close to the hair.
That's him twitching his nose.
I remember I asked Mark Cerny before Knack came out. I called him Mark, and I was like, "Hey, Mark, what's the
Hey,
deal
CERN,
with?"
bro.
Yeah, hey Cerny boy, is Knack going to become the new PS4 mascot or what? Give me the dirt. And he had an interesting take on mascots in general, where he's like, mascots were only necessary for the video game industry when people weren't familiar with what the hell a video game was, and you had to have a gateway drug to introduce it to like a new audience. But now that like in our culture we commonly understand and everyone has played video games, we don't need like a singular mascot as like the guy carrying the baton for a whole medium.
Yeah.
Turns out Mark Cerny's smart.
Yeah, he's a smart dude. I agree with the smart guy.
You talking about Cerny Boy? Is that
Old
what you
Cerny
just
dog?
called him?
Yeah, the Naughty Dog himself. Let's see. James from Salem, Oregon says, I was reminiscing on the days of playing Borderlands 1 and 2, and for a brief moment, I was nostalgic about Claptrap. Then remembered how much of a pain in the ass he was. What has been the most annoying game character you have either played or have had to deal with in a game?
I agree that Claptrap is annoying, but I know I'm in the minority in this office. A lot of people find him charming.
I think Tiny Tina, same series. I found her more annoying.
Yeah.
For me, in my recent memory, there's a character in a game in World of Final Fantasy that inserts some I don't even remember what it is now.
Some cutesy addition to words. Like,
yeah.
What is it?
It's I don't remember now. It's the same way that like the Moogles in Final Fantasy say Kupo all the time. It's like, for me, the reason that's unbearable is because it's like maybe cute and funny for a few minutes, and then you realize that it's just like gonna persist for 40 hours. And I just have no patience.
And in that one, it's voiced.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's especially rough.
So like that any character that does that is bottom of the pile.
I look for the best in people, so I don't really find anybody annoying.
Oh, that's nice. I think of like the character that I've screamed "shut up" at the most in any game
Is Dan Tack.
That's
right.
Even if I'm just playing Stardew Valley by myself, I'm just shouting into the night.
Dan!
I think it's Fee in Skyward Sword. Did you say Fee
that's
or
pretty
Fi?
good. Yeah, Fee. Fee.
She interrupts constantly, and they did that like that.
But she's
personality.
so polite.
She has a cool design, and she's polite. But in terms of just slowing down a game and a singular character to get frustrated with, she is aggravating
and constantly telling you, "Hey, this is how much rupees are worth."
After like the 50-hour mark in that effing game.
Yeah.
Gosh,
It's
That's a good answer.
There's a real overlap here, Joe, between these characters that are annoying and the dorks list that we have. Top 10 dorks end of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, is a dork inherently annoying?
Not necessarily. Sometimes a dork can be like endearing in a dorky way.
I would say Frank West is kind of a dork, but he's kind of endearing. I mean, depending on the game.
I think he made the dork list
last
year.
I think York from Deadly Premonition is someone who made the dorks list one year.
York the dork?
Yeah. York the dork. Sorry, I'm trying to look up my dumb final word.
I think his name was Teraflop.
Ness's neighbor in Earthbound is like super obnoxious on purpose.
The fat guy?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. But like he's always a step ahead of you and always just being the worst. Yeah. He's a good example. He's like, he is made from the moment you meet him, he is set up to be obnoxious and get on your nerves.
Congratulations. You've learned to hate.
I finally did it. It took Earthbound to teach me how to hate.
RJ from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, right? That's what DR means. He says, which were the hardest boss fights you encountered during your entire gaming history? For me, Mike Tyson and Punch-Out, M. Bison and Street Fighter 1, cheap tornado move, he says. Dark Souls bosses, and then Ultimate Alama from Ninja Gaiden. I guess I don't know that one. Number one hardest boss fight.
I remember having a lot of tough times with the hand from Super Smash Brothers.
Which one?
I think it was the GameCube one.
No, which hand?
The left hand.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That's the twitchy crazy one.
He gave me the bird a couple times.
Yeah, he can be pain in the ass because you're so used to just fighting small things and just fighting something that's 5 times your size and can fly away at any moment. It's a weird, uncomfortable boss fight. It's cool conceptually, but it is frustrating.
Right. I did beat it eventually, and I remember like that high you get after you finish something super hard, and you're so frustrated with it, and you finish it, and you're just like ready to run a marathon.
And then you ran a marathon?
And then I ran a marathon.
What was your time?
It was 4 hours and 20 seconds.
And you ran it on your hands.
That's right.
That is
right here.
Huh.
pretty impressive.
Then yeah, like some of the Bloodborne bosses I think were pretty challenging.
I guess so.
I guess. I don't know.
you're
I beat
a
those
baby.
with my hands too.
I think playing Metal Gear Solid 2 on Extreme, I'm not really a type of gamer that cranks it up too much on the difficulty scale, but it was fighting the Metal Gear Rays in that game was brutal because they upped the number.
You made it that far in Extreme?
I beat it on Extreme.
Holy hell.
Yeah, and that was the toughest boss fight that I recall, at least, because it's like 30 Metal Gear Rays, and you're just running around dodging so many missiles. They just never stop marching across the ocean. It's impossible.
I wasn't as scared for that one. I tried playing MGS2 on Extreme, and I got stuck at the vamp fight, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was the one that, in addition to Mike Tyson, is a fight that I think I just hit the wall. And
I'm trying
just
to remember the
couldn't do
mechanics.
it.
I remember he's like floating over a pool, right?
Yeah,
you
there's-
can't, if you get sucked down if you step in the water at
yeah,
all,
so you
right?
can't hit the water, and he's like jumping around up on the railing, so it's really hard to actually like get a beat on it.
Oh,
and
and he's doing that
fire.
cool like walk, like strutting along the
and he's, like,
railings.
throwing daggers at you and stuff from a distance. And yeah.
When are we gonna do that Metal Gear Solid 2 game club?
Whenever
I would do
you let
that.
me know.
Okay,
I'll play it again.
on Extreme.
Yeah, that game.
Yeah, I'm out.
Extreme sports.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other ones? Great. Jeff from Seattle says, "Are there any hardwired habits you have in games you have tried to break or have successfully broken? For me, it's always hoarding special ammo and sticking to the base weapon thanks to years of survival horror gaming." That's interesting. Also, no worries if they don't want to, but I'm not far from Issaquah, Washington. So if they consent to it, I can get Ken and Riley's emails as they run into the show. I don't expect both of them to want to meet me, but maybe one will. Jeff from Seattle.
All right, that might make it easier too if you got 3 people.
Yeah,
It's
Issaquah,
less
more like-
awkward.
Issaquah. Okay, weird habits. That's interesting. Just playing so many survival horror games, and then you just cannot get away from upgrading the main base weapon as your strategy.
I mean, a simple one is just reloading constantly. Like especially when you have a gun that has like a huge clip, and then like the reload animation is intentionally super long. It's like, why am I still reloading? This is ridiculous. Just don't reload. You'll be fine.
Do games need reloading? Do you ever just
It's
question
fun.
that? Playing so much Destiny 2 is like, I'm so sick of reloading.
No, it's a familiar action.
It's
I like it.
familiar, but
I think there's a certain game element to it of just like having to like, all right, I need to pause the action for a minute, get my bearings.
you wouldn't rather just have a
reload.
gun on a cooldown? I guess kind of Mass Effect 1.
I don't think I would. I think I'd rather reload.
You do?
I think I like having control over, because like if I just want to fire off 2 shots and then reload, where like the cooldown doesn't, you're not as in quite as much
Because I'm
control.
shooting, and like all of a sudden you're overloading. And I'm like,
But it's not really about control. I crap my pants. No, it's not really about control because like you just go into every encounter. Every time you pop up from cover, you just assume that you have a full clip. Right?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I do prefer the cooldown, especially. I mean, yeah, games like Mass Effect is a good example.
Yeah. This is one, I think just a lot of people are like this, but I'm always so conservative in like old JRPGs. I always end every Final Fantasy with so many mega elixirs. It's just stupid. If I could go back in time, the first thing I do is go back and tell myself which boss fights in the Final Fantasy games to use mega elixirs on and not be so stingy.
Yeah.
I just can't use anything that's consumable. I never want to use it.
Yeah.
in any game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you love Sticker Star and the Paper Mario games where every movement in battle is something consumable.
Yeah, but I never used any of those. I beat it.
It's the core of that combat system.
I have a weird one that kind of partially applies. When I was really young, the first turn-based RPG I ever played, I was like annoyed with it because I was like, why do I have to stop and do every single one of these fights? So I would just run from everything because like once I figured out you could run from most things, I was like, I just want to get to the next story part. I don't want to do all these fights. That does not work. It took me a while to understand. It's like, oh wait, no, I should do every fight and I should take the time to do all this. So
Yeah. For me,
I figured it out eventually.
Those games are so confusing. I remember playing Pokemon with an old friend of mine, and like we couldn't beat Brock, and I was like, "Well, I don't know what to do. All right, I guess let's just start over from the beginning again." like grinding was just not in our vocabulary mentally. It's like, all right, from the top, let's go one more time. It's just stupid.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know why.
For me, I'm compulsive about going the other way from the objective marker. Which is like that. That's a weird gaming thing where it's like you need to go over that hallway, but it's like, well, there's a hallway over here, every time without fail. It's like up. Or if there's no objective marker, I bounce. I'll go like a little down this hallway, until I can sort of suss out which one is the important one and which one is the side track.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful metaphor for your life, Joe.
It really
Always
is.
going left too on like side scrollers. Like whenever you start a level, you
Oh,
go
yeah.
left just to see if anything's
Or
over there.
platformers, just to go to
Yeah.
the opposite area to see
Yeah.
if there's a little cool thing. See if they got that cool thing. Adam from Utah says, "Hey, BenGI crew, have you ever heard of fry sauce?"
No.
Yeah.
What, is this like French
Is that
fry
like
sauce?
a mayo-based
Ketchup?
thing?
Very good. He says, "I believe it is usually only found here in Utah and parts of Idaho. It is made by mixing roughly equal parts of either ketchup or barbecue with mayonnaise. This results in a delicious, tangy sauce to either dip your french fries in or spread on your burger." I wonder if it is, because you're from Colorado, Reeves.
Yeah.
I wonder if they call it fry sauce out west then, man, like he thinks.
Well, I mean, it's not like a common thing in Colorado or anything. I
Okay.
just feel like I've encountered it at some point.
Yeah.
And shuddered.
If
Sounds
you
good to me.
recall, this is a weird detail, but the actress who plays Senua in Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice,
Yeah.
she's from Germany, and she explained to us on that cover story trip that they have fry sauce out there. It's very popular in Germany, where it's a mixture of ketchup and mayonnaise. But whatever it is, I don't know the German word, but it's the same as like a railroad crossing arm, because it's the red and white stripes.
Huh.
It's a stupid factoid that'll never get out of
Oh.
my head now, where
Interesting.
that's what they call
That's
it.
not.
That's what they call it.
Oh, I see what you're
So
saying.
if it was translated literally in English, instead of calling it fry sauce, you'd call it railroad
Railroad
crossing arm.
crossing arm.
Okay.
I recently beat that game, by the way.
Oh yeah, what'd you think?
It was a game I beat.
Seems like people
really?
liked it.
I mean, it was.
You're alone
it was,
here, Reeves.
I didn't hate it.
Cool.
I didn't hate it. It was good. I'm glad I played it, and I probably will only play it that one time.
It seems like you secretly hate it.
Nope.
Nope, I love it.
I didn't dislike it. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Move on.
But yeah, fry sauce.
What the hell's going on?
Wait, should I have played it with fry sauce?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, the railroad crossings?
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Alan Cooley says, "Hello, crew. Would you rather play a new IP from which of the developers in the following matchups?
Ooh.
Please choose only one from each question.
Okay, CD
New
Projekt
IP.
Red.
New IP. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
I think we should read the options and then say our choice on the count of three.
Okay.
Wait,
so you're going to read all the options
Or
first.
I guess let's go down the line, or else it's going to be a cacophony
All
from
right.
hell. All right. New IP from Blizzard or Valve, the kings, as we call them.
Valve.
Valve.
Blizzard.
Blizzard. Naughty Dog or Rockstar North?
Naughty Dog, actually. Naughty Dog.
Naughty Dog.
Rockstar.
Rockstar.
I
Sony
see
Santa
there's a
Monica or
clear
Ubisoft
dividing
Montreal?
line here.
Sony Santa Monica.
I'll go Ubisoft, actually.
They got new IPs all the time.
Sony.
And they're always boring.
They pee out IPs. Yeah, going Sony Santa Monica as well. Oh, weird. Okay, redundant. Ubisoft Montreal or Monolith? Assuming it's Shadow of War Monolith.
Yeah, Monolith.
I don't know, Monolith.
Monolith Soft.
This is Monolith. Oh, what a twist. He's going Japanese Monolith.
Whoa!
I'll go with Monolith Productions. The old mashup. Bungie or 343?
Bungie, because I'm not a big Destiny guy.
So just they abandoned their contract with Activision.
the most like successful game of all time. It's like, well, this one guy isn't really into it, so let's try something else.
Yeah.
I'll go Bungie.
I don't play either of those really.
You got to pick
Joe,
one.
give us an effing answer. You can't choose between Bungie and 343. One's 300 years old. The other is 3.
Bungie then. Yeah.
All right, cool. Correct. Bungie. Nintendo or... Oh, my God. He's getting nerdy. I like it. Nintendo or Ubisoft Montpellier?
So Montpellier is that's gonna be Rayman.
2D Rayman.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm-
Beyond Good and Evil.
I'm gonna go Montpellier for that one, even though I'm
Really?
a big Nintendo guy.
Nintendo's a broad brush.
I
that's the problem.
like their IPs that they already have. You know, I like the Zeldas and the Mario's.
Stop with the new. All right,
Quit
there's
it.
Nintendo.
Montpellier. I'm going with you, too. I like that team. Respawn or Bungie?
The Respawn.
Bungie.
Bungie.
Bungie. All right, let's keep going. Respawn or Treyarch?
Whoa.
Well, why? It's a lot of doubling up here.
What? Treyarch. What? They're like mostly Call of Duty these days.
Yeah. Oh, they
Okay.
made some Spider-Man games back in the day and stuff, right?
Okay.
Wait,
what were
Respawn
the
did?
choices again?
Treyarch.
Respawn or Treyarch?
Yep.
I guess Treyarch. It'd be fun to see them kind of get away from Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Respawn.
Yeah, probably Respawn. I don't like all the zeroing in on the FPS stuff.
All right, Treyarch. Okay, let's get away from that. You won't like the next 6. Okay, Capcom or NetherRealm?
Capcom.
Oh.
Again,
I
broad
don't really-
brush.
I'll go
I'm not a big
Capcom.
Capcom guy.
Capcom.
I think I would like to see what a new IP from NetherRealm. They're really,
Oh, really?
they're in their
Another-
groove.
So it's
Fighting
Crapcom for you, eh?
That's right, eh?
Oh, okay.
If I got one message I'd like to say to them, it's more like crap.
Listen up, Japan.
Hello,
Ring, ring, ring.
Japan, are you there?
Yeah,
Don't answer that
this is
phone.
Japan. Oh, sorry.
Sorry to have bothered you.
Square Enix or BioWare?
Oh. Square Enix.
I will
We got a new
go
one coming from BioWare.
BioWare.
I would also go with BioWare for similar to the Nintendo argument. Is like I want to see Square Enix get their existing IPs sort of in line.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll go BioWare. BioWare or Bethesda?
Bethesda.
Bethesda.
Oh boy. Pass.
What?
Come on.
You're the
Lane.
lamest
What is
person.
this?
Just answer the question.
No, what's yours?
Bethesda.
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm still BioWare.
Okay.
That's fine, Joe. It's
Joe.
okay.
It's
There's no wrong answers.
It's hard to choose. Someone's gonna throw this in my face in 5 years. When
Yeah. People are marking their
Probably
calendar.
2 days.
Siri, remind me to mess with Joe in 5 years.
This one, it's the Kaiplitz and the Montagues here, and other famous mashups. Who are those? Who are the Wild West family? Warring families.
Oh, gosh.
The
what is it?
Warsaws and the Hack Gyms.
Hatfords. Or
The Hatfords and McCoys.
There you go.
Yeah. Suda 51 or Swery 65?
Swery.
Oh.
Not to be a Joe here. I'll say Swery.
Yeah, Swery.
I'll go Swery as well. God, I wish he would make a game about turning into a cat at night. That'd
That'd be
be
fun.
trying to get funding on Fig right now.
Yeah. No,
it's not going well so far.
It's not. That's too bad though, because like the idea seems interesting.
Yeah.
I think that art style does not put a great foot forward for that game. If
It's
you've
kind
seen
of
the
a
trailer.
Professor Layton-ish.
But it's going to be 3D, right? They just tweeted out earlier like a 3D model of that female
really?
character walking around.
But
yeah.
like that's what's so like I understand like hey, this is work in progress, visual
Yeah.
style can change, like all of that, like those are all legitimate disclaimers, but at the same time, like when you're trying to get funding and sell people on an idea, it's hard to like not convey an accurate thing of like, okay, this is how this will look.
Well, yeah, I was surprised when I saw that they tweeted out that little animation. I was like, oh, I thought this was like a 2D game. I didn't even realize it was 3D. So that, yeah.
That's wild. What do you guys like? Question of the week.
The one those are compulsive gaming habits.
Yeah, I like
That's
that
good.
one.
Oh, you
Yeah,
like that
I
one?
like that one.
Okay. That's Jeff from Seattle. Is everyone leaning towards that?
Can he
we
meet
also-
up with those other guys? How close is he?
Yeah, that's the only way we're actually going to give him the prize if he manages to meet up with those other guys.
We'll give the prizes to the other people
Yeah.
to give
There's
them.
also every developer's secret thing that always has you excited.
I like that last question too.
The mashup.
Yeah, I like the choosing.
Where you guys
I
leaning?
do like when people send us like games.
Yeah?
Sort of.
Games.
Yeah, but I also don't want to be biased. Like, I also don't want to be like, hey, you have a much better chance of winning if you send us a game to play.
Right.
You might have a better chance if you send us some dares.
Let's go. I'll go Jeff from Seattle. Weird gaming habits.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
do
do
it.
it.
That
I
was the
like,
one we started
I
with.
like that one.
All right,
Jeff,
Jeff.
but
And
feel
he's trying
free
to
to-
meet up with other fans.
How
Feel
do you
free to
think
send us
people
games.
feel when they're like the second choice that we're like, well, we could give it to this guy. He's
I
a pretty
bet
good
they
question.
feel like the
And then
opposite of what Gabe Newell felt like when he saw f-stop.
The
for
opposite.
first
So
time.
they're like poop just like gets sucked back up
I
into their
bet
body.
they are listening on the
He grabs
potty.
his shirt.
Yeah. Through his nipples? Like what?
Yes, that's exactly what I meant.
That's what f-stop is.
All right, guys, don't f-stop this podcast yet. We got Marija Moldenhauer coming up, who's the producer and artist on Cuphead. So you want to learn all about the history and development of Cuphead. Stay tuned for this. Marija, welcome to the Game Informer Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you. It's an exciting week for you guys over there, huh?
That's an understatement.
Okay,
It's
what's it like? Set the scene.
Okay. You know what? It's a total like mixed bag of emotions right now. I think that we're at total opposite ends of the spectrum simultaneously. So we're super pumped. We're very excited. It's a surreal moment for sure. It's our first game, so every step that we take is a brand new, brand new grounds that we're breaking for ourselves. So everything's brand new to us. But at the opposite end of that spectrum is, it would be disingenuous if I didn't tell you that we're a little bit nervous. We don't know what to expect. We keep, in close ties and communication with our friends in the industry, and one of the common questions lately has been like, what does launch day feel like? How does that moment feel? When you went live, it's 9:01 a.m. Eastern time. Like, how does that feel? So there's been a vast array of feedback on how that feels. So that's where the nerves come in. Like, we don't know what to expect. But I think to kind of summarize it, we're just really proud right now of what we're about to deliver, what Cuphead has become and what it is. I think that kind of sums it all up, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement out there for this very unique game. But like talking to other industry people, I'm curious, what's the most common piece of feedback? Like, what are they trying to brace you for, even emotionally, for having worked on this game for 7 years at this point?
Oh, wow. No. So, you know what? We embarked on this in late 2013, actually early 2014, in terms of, okay, we're actually going to do this. I think where there's a bit of a gray area is because the brothers, so the two creators of Cuphead, they're brothers. They are 15 months apart. They grew up playing video games. So I think when people extend that timeline, it's really because they've always had this childhood dream of making video games. So that, as 2010, 2011, 2012 rolled around, it became more and more to top of mind of like, okay, we should maybe try this. But in 2013 was when we first put pencil to paper, put out our first YouTube trailer in 2014. So it's been a long ride for sure. It's in our blood at this point. It's kind of all we know, long hours, long days. It's a weird, strange time right now.
Do you want to describe your specific role in the project then?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I probably should have said that. So I'm an artist and a producer on Cuphead.
Oh, awesome.
And I'm actually the only inking artist as well. We're a very small team. So aside from having to wear multiple hats, there's just everyone carries a big, a big load as well.
Yeah, a lot of responsibility. Yeah. So, I mean, how big is the overall team?
The core team is about 15, including myself.
Oh, wow. And when did you join the project? What was that process like? What did you start out doing?
Yeah. So I've been with the team since the beginning. I would say actually a week after we decided, okay, let's do this. So it's been nice to see things kind of expand and the scope expand and the team expand and things like that. So, but back in 2014 or late 2013 was when I joined. And yeah, we didn't just go on a hiring blitz from a 4-man team to 15. It was progressive. I think that the biggest jump was in 2015 when we decided to increase the scope significantly. When we realized, okay, well, this is way too much for all of us to do. We need to hire some more people.
Well, I know, when we're recording this, it's Tuesday. Game comes out Thursday, Friday? Friday. Yes, okay, so I understand you're still looking for the future. You're looking forward to the future. But I wonder if you could just kind of turn around and think about the past, think about this entire project a little bit. Like, what's been the most striking aspect of it for you? What's the most interesting thing you didn't expect to learn along the way? Most pivotal moment? What really stands out about the entire game's development for you?
I think that's a great question. I think the response and the feedback and just the community around Cuphead, we were not expecting it whatsoever. And I'm being honest with that because initially when we set out to do this, it was just supposed to be 8 bosses, a Mega Man style select screen, very, very small scope because we didn't know if there was going to be an appetite for it. We were way out in left field in terms of marrying 1930s art style with 80s gameplay and the medium that we used, we just didn't think anyone would really like it. So we're like, okay, let's tinker around with this in our spare time as a hobby. And so that when we saw the response out of our first E3 and, being approached by Microsoft, it was just, that's the biggest thing. And then, being in this moment and looking at the game and being able to play the game as a whole, rather than just seeing it in black and white, as I'm drawing, that is an eye-opening experience as well. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this in a year because the art would have been done like a while ago. And then being able to get your hands on it is definitely a wide-eyed moment.
That's exciting. But I imagine it also has those moments of just being, you have to be numb to the game at this point, right?
You know what? I'm personally not.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah, because I'm not. I've play tested it, but I've not been, playing it day in and day out. And I think that the reason why I'm also not numb to it from like an art lens is because I'm just passionate about it. Like I've been doing art my entire life. It's a hobby. It's something that like you're grabbing for time to do. So to be able to do that as a full-time job just kind of felt like you're just playing or you're having fun. You're doing a hobby day in and day out.
Yeah.
I mean, with a fraction of you're approaching that 12, 13 hours in the day and your wrist is just kind of like, oh my God, okay, I need to go to bed.
So you kind of hinted at it, but I mean, the positive reaction in E3 2014 when you unveiled the game, it was definitely, in the Game Informer booth where we were watching the live stream, it was that moment of, wait, pause that video. What the fuck is that game? Why did they gloss by that? That's the most amazing looking thing I've ever seen. But talking about like the hype and just the attention that it got after that point, so you decided to expand beyond just boss stages because of the feedback alone?
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, it was. So it was always in our minds. Initially, we set out with this eight bosses, boss rush kind of mode, because we didn't know if there was going to be an appetite for it. But the Cuphead that people are going to be playing this week is true to our dream vision. So it's exactly what we wanted to make. We just didn't know if there'd be, I keep beating a dead horse here of just saying, like, we just didn't know if people would like it. So we just kind of took a small step, so the risk reward wasn't as big of a delta. And it was after that feedback and seeing, live feeds like Game Informer sitting on the couch, we're like, oh my God, like, outlets that we looked up to our entire adult lives, mentioning your game was just kind of a weird moment.
So how did the team accommodate then? Did you get was the budget increasing as well? Did you get an influx of cash from some source, or how did you guys accommodate this bigger scope then?
Yeah, so a number of different ways. Our families really love us. Okay. We got creative. We got very creative in terms of being able to fund that big of a team for a couple more years and just the scope of what this project is. But we had faith in it all along. I have zero regrets. I don't think it's a secret now. I think I've seen it a couple of different places. We remortgaged our homes, kind of just went all in. We were passionate about this. We're confident about it. We're very proud. No regrets. But yeah, you have to get creative when you want to do something at this scale.
I know the game's not out yet again, but do you think you have lessons that you guys have learned overall that could maybe help other studios get attention? Like from my own vantage point, it just seems like make a game that even in 1 second of gameplay looks so different from anything else people have seen. I mean, do you think that's an applicable lesson to other studios, or is it just you guys with this one singular vision?
Ooh, that's a great question. So when we set out on this, I'll tell you from our lens and what we did and why we chose it. So when we set out on this, it was never to please a wide audience at all. It was never like what's really going to stand out or what is going to garner the most attention or anything like that. It was just, we love this art style. We love this gameplay. Let's marry them and see if there's a product there. And so we did that. But I think to answer kind of the other half of your question in terms of other people kind of venturing out into this space, is to remain true to your passion and what you love, and don't just do it for like a wide audience or what's going to please the most people. You're never going to please everyone. So do something that you love, do it well, and remain true to your vision. Have some tunnel vision and some blockers on a lot of the time, and don't trip over comments. Don't worry about what everyone else is thinking. And if it's going to take off, it'll take off.
And then from your perspective,
I wish there was a better formula to it where I was like, well, technically we looked at statistics or da-da-da. No, there was none of that.
Tweens love the 30s. They can't get enough of that shit. I mean, what about from your specific process? Do you have any regrets about the way you guys tackled the just amount of art you had to create for this game?
We joke about it. We joke about like, what's wrong with us? Like, who would ever do this? Why are we doing this? Like, our basements are full of paper. I'm talking banker boxes full of paper everywhere. But looking back on it, definitely no regrets. Absolutely no regrets, because we would never have the look that we have, the fluidity, the gameplay, precision, things like that, if we didn't do it in the style or with the medium that we did, being on paper with pencil and inking it and things like that. If you do things, backtracking 3 years ago, when we set out on this, we actually did it digitally at first. and animated digitally, but we couldn't get the look. It just didn't look right. Something was off. It didn't look like the 30s. And so we were turning our wheels and thinking like, okay, what is it? What is it? What is it? And then at the end of the day, I think it was Chad that was just basically like, okay, well, let's try it and let's do it the way that they did in the 30s. And maybe it'll look like it did. And so, yeah, I don't think that we would have the look we did today if we didn't.
Can you just lay it out? Like, I'm trying to even envision what this looks like. Is it literally you with giant pads of paper sketching and then flipping back and forth, old Disney animator style, looking at like the previous frame and then going that in and then scanning those in each individually?
So we actually, it's definitely not just me. We have a team of, there's a whole 5 animators. Okay. So still really, really small, but the most talented people that we could find. We had to go right across North America to find people who were classically trained, still did, animate on paper, not just digitally.
One of them's 93 years old.
But yes, exactly as you said, we come up with a concept, either the look of what a boss or an enemy is going to look like in a stage, or we come up with the gameplay first and then have to come up with the art or the look of that boss later. So whichever one comes first, is a moot point, but basically the animators will concept it out based on kind of Chad's direction and vision of like, okay, it kind of needs to be like this blue blob jumping around the screen. They go to come out with a bunch of concepts. We either nail it on the first go, or if it takes 3 weeks to come up with a concept that's true to that vision, we'll take 3 weeks, which speaks to, the duration of how long this game has taken. And, our previous delay, we couldn't pinpoint an exact time of how long it was going to take to get the look right. Then they would go through and animate on keyframes. And then once the movement, we wanted a boss to kind of dart to the left and then bounce back after bouncing off a wall or something like that. When we have the keyframes in and done and that look is approved, we go through and animate in the in-betweens at 24 frames a second. Then it gets passed over to myself, where I go through and ink everything, or do any cleanup if needed, tie down, ink it, and then that's at that point where we scan it in and color things digitally.
So the entire game runs at 24 then?
Yes. It runs at 60 frames a second, but it's animated at 24.
Okay. God, that's complicated and weird. Like I remember...
it is.
On the South Park cover story trip, I remember Obsidian originally with Stick of Truth, they tried to make the entire game at 24 frames a second, thinking like, well, that's how it has to look technically for South Park, and it just never worked out. But did you guys ever experiment with the game actually running at 24 as well?
No, I think that a big part of why we wanted it to run at 60 frames per second was for gameplay and look as well. We wanted it to be a lot more fluid and not choppy at all, and gameplay from a precision lens. So it's a lot of frames, frame rate.
I can't even wrap my head around the math of how the hell that works. But it's very funny to see you guys coming out as Microsoft is also pushing the Xbox One X in such a big way. Like, the future of graphics. And you have the oldest looking game I think that's ever been made.
Yeah, I think so.
Did you have any examples that you look to of other studios that have done this level of hand-drawn animation?
So not from a gaming lens. So that for the art style and the aesthetic was purely just drawn from cartoons from the era. So old Disney, Silly Symphonies, Fleischer Studios, Betty Boop, all of that. And then from gameplay wise, we really, really looked up to games from the late 80s, early 90s. So Contra 3, Gunstar Heroes, Thunder Force series, that whole gamut.
Yeah. What, all right. You've probably watched a lot of these. Maybe it was years and years ago when you guys were coming up with the original vision and whatnot. Is there one or two old cartoons that you'd recommend people check out? Just the most interesting, strangest, most fascinating examples?
Okay, so my personal favorite is Skeleton Dance out of the Silly Symphonies.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. My kids watch it. I don't even force them. I was like, do you want to watch a skeleton dance? They're like, yeah.
It's a little spooky. Totally.
I know for Chad, for him specifically, it's still out of the Silly Symphonies. I think it's Swing You Sinners and Bimbo's Initiation. And then really, I can't even pick something out of Fleischer Studios. Fleischer was a really big influence. If not more, at least on the same level as Disney. I think Disney gets a lot of the credit because they're still around today and things like that. But yeah, the Fleischer Studios, those brothers.
Just Fleischer in general. There's a YouTube comment on our channel today that stood out to me, where somebody was asking, I wonder what would happen if you went back in time and showed this game to somebody from the 30s. Do you guys ever think about that? Do you think you could completely fool, even like, I guess you could technically do it with a grandparent today, right? Just run this game and see if they would think that it's an old cartoon.
Yeah, you know what? We have done that test on my father-in-law actually. So he would have seen those cartoons and been kind of in that era. And aside from it being colored, and a lot of those cartoons were black and white, he was just like, it's spot on.
Awesome.
Obviously, probably a lot more design elements in this game rather than in those cartoons. In the cartoons themselves back in the day, they were maybe a little bit more simple and not so many like background elements and things going on. But we wanted to make it a lot more colorful.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you talk about the relationship with Microsoft, how that came about, and kind of the evolution of you guys getting intertwined along the way?
Yeah, that stands out as like a pivotal moment for us. And I still remember that day vividly. Even looking back, how many cool, amazing things have happened and opportunities and meeting so many people and things like that. Still getting that call from Microsoft after we put out our first YouTube trailer, like we just created a YouTube channel, put out the video, kind of threw it out there into the black hole of the internet to see what happens. And it boomeranged right back with Microsoft giving us a call, basically saying that they're interested on getting this as a console exclusive. And, all the stars just aligned perfectly for us. At that time, we have zero regrets whatsoever. We're very happy with it. As a partner, they have been I don't even know. I don't want to say phenomenal because that even feels like an understatement. They have the production support, the technical support, the PR support, being at, Gamescom, PAX, E3, the stage presence, things like that. We would never be able to do that. We're small, half a third of our company, we're just family, we would never have the reach that we do right now without that partnership with Microsoft. And at the other lens, I know I sound like an infomercial right now, it's true. The other part of that was a lot of people do come up to us being like, oh, were they pressuring you for dates? Are they pressuring you for dates and things like that? That was one area where they were totally hands off. They were confident in our vision. And when we went to them last year with that delay, they were just, you know what? You do what you need to do to make this game true to what you set out to do. And we trust you with that. So that was a big weight off our shoulders as well, not to have somebody or something kind of lurking on you. So no, they've been a fantastic partner. Yeah. The idea at Xbox team, under Chris Charla, all of them. Yeah. All of them have been phenomenal.
And also, it's just so nice to see that Microsoft is cool with the game also launching on Steam day and date, right?
Yeah, there was no issues with that whatsoever. It was a really important thing to us back when we signed with them, saying, aside from being console exclusive, would there be like a time duration that would just be on Xbox? That was never even an issue. It was important to us to be on Steam and GOG at the same time that we launch. And yeah,
that's amazing. And just the official wording, I know this is tricky, console launch exclusive, or what's the official word on it ever coming to another platform? Lifetime.
Lifetime console exclusive on Xbox.
Holy God, that's a hell of a deal.
Yeah.
All right.
It is. But you know what? Like I said, no regrets. For the moment in time that we're in right now, being our first game, the amount of support that we received, no regrets.
Awesome. What does the future of the studio look like? You guys pot committed to this art style now that you're experts?
Sorry, what does our studio look like?
What does the future of the studio look like?
The future. I was like, you don't want to see our studio right now.
It's a beautiful white wall if you're not watching the YouTube version.
So it looks, so for now, we've just been kind of tunnel visioned, zeroed in on September 29th, and that's it. But that being said, it's hopefully bright. We have, the wheels are always turning no matter what when you love what you do. So there'll be more for sure, but for now, like literally the entire team, all hands on deck, has just been Cuphead September 29th.
That's awesome. You guys
we'll deal with that later.
You guys aren't
like ideas later.
Yeah. But you aren't burned out on the art style. There's not this feeling within the studio of like, we have got to do something completely different after this.
Oh, you know what? Maybe, maybe not.
All right.
I gotta keep you coming back for more.
I understand. Okay, gotcha. Perfect. Well, hey.
No, in terms of how we animate, I think that we've been really happy with how things look using pencil and paper, but we are not tied to that era.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. That's what I'm going to leave you with.
Love it. That sounds great. Well, hey, Maya, best of luck with the launch that's coming up soon. I think a lot of fans are really looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time. And thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show podcast. Be sure to tune in next Thursday, and we'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.